What's that say about me?
Yeah, and it's the RedEye stream number 69. Sargon, Spencer, and Styx. Oh my! So that was
What
a
the hell's
monster.
wrong with you? That is so degenerate.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Sorry, I'll let you do your intro now.
Oh no, it's all good. I actually forgot to hit mute on the play video, so I started to hear my own voice. I hate it when that shit happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done that. It's thrown me off.
Yeah. So the debate was what, 5? Okay, the debate proper was about 3 hours, 3.5, and then the rest was the chat trying to help out Sargon. Pretty much, from what I've heard, I watched about 2.5 hours of it so far. Watching.
Yeah.
Round,
well,
but go ahead, Coffee.
Styx ended up leaving because 9 o'clock is his bedtime. That is exactly why he left.
Oh God damn it!
Well, otherwise, had you get up at 5 a.m. But
oh, it's true.
Yeah, no, Styx left, and so I mean, at that point, Millennial Woes had been brought in the middle of the chat, which kind of derailed it anyway. But you had Millennial Woes was in there, and then they brought in V to kind of help out Sargon, and yeah.
And then they brought in one other guy,
Kevin Logan. I don't know who he is.
Kevin Logan. So, Kevin Logan. If you think Sargon is to the left, oy vey. Kevin Logan is something else. Funny enough, I heard that. Because I watched a little bit of that that stream that you were talking about. In the Discord, where Sargon got together with a couple people afterwards, kind of a little after action report. So apparently he got a hold of Kevin Logan and was just like, sorry, but you don't have the tools to fight the alt-right. You're so far left that you will literally agree with them in principle. And what's funny enough is that Kevin Logan, this guy that supposedly is kind of far rightish, even by American standards primarily, but he gets on and he ends up agreeing with Richard Spencer. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, fuck. Well, shit, he didn't help much, did he?
No.
All right, so let's go all the way to the beginning here. So the debate starts. I think Andy, this is the only time he really gets to talk. He gets his intro in. and then Sargon's showing up late, fashionably late, because, it's Sargon. How dare he show up at the same time as Spencer?
They had wanted someone else, and since they weren't showing, Sargon ended up saying, okay, well, I'll go on. At least going by what he said on his stream. After action stream.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfectly fair. As we were just talking a little bit before the show, Sargon doesn't immediately go after Spencer, does he?
No, he immediately addresses the moderators, which are Warski and Jean-Francois Garapé, or however you say it.
Garapé. It's like baguette, but more gay.
Garapé. I don't know. Ribbit. No, he goes immediately to address one of the moderators, which I thought was incredibly bad form.
Yeah. Yeah, even if the moderator is biased, you can't. I don't know.
Well, it's not like he was jumping in while they were going at each other. So, yeah. I mean, even if you don't agree with him, it's not like he was doing his part as a moderator, and I would say probably both of them didn't really step in when they should have at times. But you don't go in after a moderator. Maybe he wasn't clear on that that he was just there moderating.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if he's looking at tweets and everything beforehand, I can see how he might think that this is someone who's siding with Spencer. I'm surprised they let Spencer in alone, though, to be honest.
Spencer can handle it.
No, that's true.
Obviously, I mean, say what you want about the guy, but he immediately... Sargon goes after the moderator, as you said. Mm-hmm. And I would like to dig in a little bit more on why Sargon doesn't like JF, if you guys will elaborate on that a little bit more.
I don't think they've had any previous encounters. that I know of, at least.
I don't know if they've spoken directly, like on a stream or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to judge it from lay centrist position, I mean, Sargon would be to the left and Jean Francois would be to the right. I mean, they're by no means extremists.
No.
So, I mean, they would hypothetically, in theory, agree on quite a bit. It's just, Jean Francois just so happens to be more to the right, I suppose.
Well, what Jean Francois is doing, his whole shtick is following the science and talking about the current research.
Yeah.
Sargon always tries to bring things back to ideology, morality, philosophical principles, rather than real life practicality and the science.
Okay.
If you just want to lay it out that way.
Yeah, no, and we already have somebody in the chat, Dusty Old Bones. How you doing? Their question is, are you sure Sargon went after JF from the start? Round. I don't remember JF necessarily going directly after Sargon, to be honest.
No, Sargon gets in and then is like, before we start, I just want to ask Jean-Francois about X.
Yeah, it was a statement about being collectivist and individualist at the same time.
Right.
Which, I mean, in theory is a... I don't necessarily want to say it's a contradiction, because I mean you can be an individual, but at the same time you can acknowledge the fact that collectives exist, which I think is the answer that Jean-Francois actually gave at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell if that was a spicy question or not, I guess.
Well, here's what happens, right? You can have individuals and whatever, and identities and whatever, but what happens is individuals will form collectives around identities. That's how you get like, well, I'm a libertarian because I believe in guns, but I also want weed. You get, whether you intend to or not, a collection of individuals that have certain ideas that's what they perpetuate. And I think that's something that Sargon continues to ignore, because on the after stream on Sargon's channel, they were talking about how identities can coalesce, and I posted a comment. It says, yeah, but ideologies tend to form identities. That's how you get like a Protestant Christian or a Baptist Protestant versus Episcopalian Protestant.
Yeah,
it happens the same way with political ideology.
Yeah, but I mean, once again, the collective is a group of individuals, but the individual's rights are what matters, because the ultimate minority in a society is the individual.
Well, no, if you're a collectivist, you're worried primarily about the collective rights. If you're an individualist forming a collective, presumably you would be for individual rights, even though you've banded your power together to make social change or a voting bloc or whatever.
Totally, and I would consider myself an individualist. And Richard Spencer, my main problem, I'll look beyond his racism, because you know what? Good luck having your white ethno state. Good luck. But man, the collectivism, it's almost like he's Chairman Mao with some of his arguments, and that's what rubs me the wrong way the most.
Well, he did say some
surprising
things. I don't like
that sentiment.
He did say some surprising things, one of them being that he would model his white ethno-state after the Jewish state.
I know, right? I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe he said that.
Well, there's one thing that Richard Spencer said that actually kind of ticked me off, and this is backpedaling a bit to collectivism, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to fucking devolve into this again, but one thing that Spencer said was that paying your taxes and following the laws, that this is a construct that benefits the group, and so the nation state is essentially a collective, and I fucking hate that. Following the rules and following the laws and paying taxes and everything, that's a social That's a social construct. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're part of any one specific collective. So the nation state is.
Well, we as intelligent.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say
we as intelligent humans.
God damn it.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. I will go. I'm going now. All right. So I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't think that a nation could necessarily be a collective due to the fact that it doesn't have a kind of collective groupthink. There are sub-collectives, but I think a nation state is essentially one giant social contract.
It is, but you have to address the collective on some level. I mean, we're a collection of states here in the U.S., right?
Mhm.
States are a collection of counties, right? That are a collection of municipalities, right?
Yeah.
Level. Even if we're all individual people with our own interests and we're not vying for, say, gun rights, right? Even if we're just going about our business, going to work, whatever, we still have to deal with the fact that there is a collective hierarchy. There is some form of organization within our society that we'll still have to deal with. You can call that collectivism. You can call it just the state. But we as intelligent humans have risen above being animals because we're able to form these collectives and work within them. The problem happens is when the collective interest begins to take precedence over individual interests.
Yeah, I can agree with that somewhat. But that's also why I'm not an anarchist or a complete minarchist. I believe in the Constitution, and therefore the state is as low as you can get within the constitutional level of the collection of individuals. So the state is more apt to protect your rights than the federal government is.
Right. Well, this is why Spencer said we give the state a monopoly on force because we expect it to protect our interests.
Well, and the state itself.
But Richard Spencer also said. Oh, sorry, 40. But I want to say this real quick. Richard Spencer also spit in the face of John Locke, of all people. Like, of all the philosophers, and Jefferson. He literally said these guys were ridiculous. Like, what are you doing? Do you believe in the divine right of kings? I mean,
his point was that we didn't form America because of our ideologies. Our ideology itself didn't form America. It was blood and iron, he said. We went out and we fought for it.
Yeah, but you don't fight for a person. You fight for an idea. And the idea was revolution, and the idea was a separation from the crown, eventually. It didn't start off that way. It started off as a redress of grievances. But it ended up...
Can you guys
hear crown? Me? Yeah,
we can hear you.
What's up, MC?
You guys, that is not an accurate assessment. All right. Well, okay. Let me backtrack a little bit. The idea behind the overall arching themes still exist, right? Excuse me, sorry about that. The overarching themes still exist, right? But they've done a lot of studies, all right? In fact, there was a number of people that were, they talked about, well, how could the people fight for the Nazis? Are you fighting for Nazism? No. What they found is that people fight for their friends, their themselves, all right, and the people around them. They don't necessarily fight for ideology. All right. Yes, there are always the quote unquote true believers, but those are the vast majority of those. The vast majority of the people that actually will take up arms are doing it because of their neighbors rather than for quote unquote an ideology. When they're looking at a specific ideology, let's say we'll talk about freedom in the Revolutionary War. Okay. Yeah, they all agreed with it. All right. But they looked at it, the people that were actually in the trenches, people that are actually pulling the bullets and taking the fire and suffering and bleeding and dying on those battlefields, were doing it because they were trying to save their homes, they were trying to save their neighbors, they were trying to save their children, and they were trying to save the people around them. Much more so, that was much more on their minds than the specific ideology that you're espousing.
Yeah, well, okay. That was Spencer's point.
Yeah, but on the flip side, MC, not for some reason it always boils back to the Civil War, but the Union did not invade because the South was threatening their homes and their children. They invaded to keep the Union. They invaded for an ideal, whether I like it or not. So you can't tell me that
the Union
men don't
collective
fight
did.
over an ideal.
The Union collective did, but what about each individual Union soldier? Because they were fighting for the Union, or were they invading because they didn't want, say, slavery or whatever for whoever they knew that was black?
You don't. If you read or said they were not fighting over slavery in the Union, a vast majority of them were not, and a lot of abolitionists didn't even fight. So I mean,
you can say that, but the driving factor was slavery and for the recruitment. But the thing is when their neighbors go, they went with their friends. They went with their neighbors. All right. When the troops signed up, they signed up. When one person signed up, their friends would sign up with them. And of course, in the Civil War, of course, you end up with denuding young men out of small towns all over America. Some towns, all their, for the most part, most of their friends and stuff came home. But other towns, they lost all of their young men, because they were put in. You had like the 10th Maine. You end up with the 4th Illinois. Right. The same thing in the South, is you end up with these small collectives, although it wasn't as bad in the South because there was much more mixing of the troops within the units themselves, from different areas of the population. Within the North, I mean, it became very difficult at times, especially early on, because of the way the battles went.
Yeah, the same thing.
Everybody.
Yeah, the same thing happened in World War I with Britain, actually. Specifically, I think far up north towards like mining facilities and everything, like in Scotland. But they would, if you got drafted or if you signed up, they would put you basically, you'd be fighting with your townsfolk essentially, and take like the Battle of the Somme, for instance. You have entire brigades of men marching into German gunfire and crazy shit like that. I mean, entire squadrons were fucking decimated. So.
Okay,
towns essentially.
So let's get back to the debate then. So you think Richard Spencer has a point on his collective ideas? Because I don't buy it. I mean,
it's not the collective idea that we're debating right now. It's what was the Revolutionary War fought for. We can go back and revise history and gloss over it and say it was because of freedom. But at the end of the day, it was because people were fighting against taxation. They were fighting for whatever individual reason they went for. It wasn't because of some overarching freedom in all cases.
Well, it was
you don't get a mobilization. You don't get a mobilization of Revolutionary War soldiers from a town, one whole town, all your young men, men of fighting age, just because of quote unquote freedom.
Well, they were fighting the people they saw as a threat to directly a threat to their country. They were fighting the redcoats that were stationed in
more specifically their livelihood.
And that as well, yes. No, I can't deny that.
Well, I mean, I guess what comes into question then is what comes first, action or ideals? I mean, it was Sargon actually brought up a really good point. And I'm so fucking glad he did. Tom Paine in is it no, it's not Age of Reason. It's Common Sense by Tom Paine.
Common Sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically Thomas Paine, he says, well, I mean, what is a king but a strong barbarian that ruled long ago and gave favors to his friends and family? And so, I mean, that really puts into perspective the way people viewed, specifically in the Americas, mind you, not all the colonies, but that really puts into perspective how people viewed the crown at that time. The crown are barbarians, that just so happened to take power long ago. That's all they were, essentially. And so that sprung forth.
No.
Well, I mean, I
don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, MC, tell me you're going to argue in favor of the divine right of kings, please, sir.
Wait,
No. I'm not arguing that. That's not my point. I mean, but to say that they looked at royalty as just barbarians, there is an aristocratic mindset that had been part of that culture that still existed within Great Britain and within the
the loyalists and everything.
colonists. Well, yeah, but the colonists sent over their delegations. In fact, when they sent over Benjamin Franklin the first time, the idea was to redress with the king.
Yeah, the olive branch petitions. They sent them like 3 times, and the king refused to read them.
Correct. He basically deferred at that time to to Parliament. We didn't have Congress, obviously.
Hey guys,
to Parliament.
What's going on?
Hey. Hello. Thanks for joining in.
So I just need to point one thing out. I'm sorry, MC, I'm cutting you off, but number one, I think you just doxed Common Sense guy. You're not supposed to actually say the name of that Common Sense person.
What? Oh, Thomas Paine. Gotcha.
Nice.
I'm sorry, it was a delayed joke. Go ahead, MC.
I was trying to follow what was going on. No, so you end up in a situation where if the king, the Hanoverian king, had understood the situation, he literally could have decided to replant and reinsert the crown authority in the Americas first, and theoretically come back and said, okay, I'm also the king of England, I'm also the king of these colonies, and I'm going to use the colonies to redress Parliament my way. All right, but he didn't understand that for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is, that's the colonies. What does anybody know about the colonies?
Hey, up here in Massachusetts, you don't tax our fucking caffeine.
Something's got to keep you awake in those long, frickin' frigid nights.
Oh, dude, it's frickin' freezing, man.
No sympathy for me. Freeze, you bastards.
But I guess you guys were talking about the debate. Is that the topic?
Yeah. We were talking about Spencer's pretty much his collective ideas, and that blood and iron, I guess, won the Revolutionary War, not ideals. I do believe there was ideals behind it, and you can see that in the words of the Declaration of Independence, which was a rallying cry.
Sorry to cut you off, but it wasn't so much that that's what won it. It's that's what caused the people to fight.
Well, didn't they also have to go 1,500, 2,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to get supplies and shit?
The British?
Yeah.
Not technically. I'm sure that it was a kind of I don't want to say scorched earth policy, but I'm pretty sure, the towns they went through, they looted as much as they could.
Well, they could. I'm just saying from a logistical standpoint too, or if you were playing Command and Conquer, one of those games. If you're closer to your base, you can get more reinforcements, right?
Well, they were using resources out of the Caribbean. A lot, also, I believe, in the time.
The Hessian mercenaries and stuff like that. And part of it too is if you are defending your homeland, let's face it, man, you're going to fight harder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and once again, that's what it became. Okay, so you have a few ideologues, all right, saying we are independent, right? And so what happens is you have quote unquote foreign troops. The way they were looking at it, foreign troops being sent from Europe, all right, to invade the colonies, to include Germans, right, to include Hessians, right. Now these are not. It became less of a civil war in their minds at that point, and more a fight for their against a foreign invader, right. I don't think people today really understand the depth of hatred in the colonies for the crown. Once the Hessians got involved.
Yeah, but I still think Richard Spencer's idea that ideals had nothing to do with this and that it was just pure force of arms is kind of ridiculous.
Are we talking about the Richard Spencer Sargon debacle?
Yeah, and we're starting at the beginning a little bit, and I kind of wanted to try and go through their points instead of their yelling at each other.
The terminology is slobberknocker.
The point we're addressing is the fact that he called out Thomas Jefferson for saying that that we have this idea that liberty is what started the Revolutionary War. Well, that's not necessarily the case. That's That's what got us into this.
Is Thomas Jefferson the best representative for a white ethno state?
No,
that's not what he was saying.
Oh, he hated.
No, absolutely not.
Saying that. Well, no, Richard Spencer was saying that Locke and Jefferson were idiots. Basically, was his point. And I disagree. I couldn't disagree
because
more.
they tried to reframe the Revolutionary War as some grand fight for liberty, which wasn't the case. That's
Locke was 100 or so years before Jefferson, just to clarify.
I think the most important thing I take out of this is I do need to make a correction, Mad Dodge. It's pronounced Loki.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
God, that was
okay.
A horror.
Can I give my my 2 cents here? I actually got to kind of speak with Richard Spencer a bit.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Just for a hot second, nothing like huge.
Yeah, nothing personal.
My whole stick with this, everyone is going after Andy, and it's bullshit. Because as soon as we start censoring people and not letting them have a platform to speak, that's when it can be applied to anyone. And these assholes don't seem to understand it. He deserves the right to speak. Yeah. Regardless of how fucked up his ideology is.
I completely agree. Matter of fact, I would totally have Richard Spencer on the RedEye. Fucking hey.
I would too, and then I would tell him I'd punch him in the face and that he's a piece of shit. However, he has the right to speak. Period. And as soon as that's taken away, that could be taken away from all of us. And that's something that really needs to be recognized.
Oh, and that's one of those things too, when you boil it down to it. It's basically everyone, or at least most folks, typically support the right to speak. Not everyone always believes that, somebody else should speak, but it's just like they say. At first they came for Richard Spencer, and then they came for Sargon. And
yeah,
then
but
they came for Andy.
Have you seen the backlash Andy's getting, like severe backlash?
This was to be... does it surprise you at all? I guess they wrote an article. I saw Styx's video earlier. He kind of went on
I didn't think it would. I didn't think it.
Media matters.
The pussification of America really is outlined in the fact that Andy cannot, or someone cannot have someone else be on their fucking show without being targeted as, Andy, you're a fucking neo-Nazi. You support neo-Nazis. Come the fuck on.
Because
shot. Do you think the backlash would be as extreme if they didn't hit #1 on YouTube streams?
No, I think it was
because it wouldn't have been demonstrated that other people cared if it didn't hit #1.
This happened way before that.
It was a contributing factor because, let's face it, they did promote it and everything, and then you're getting in, Sargon's got about 750,000 subs, Styx pushing upwards of 250,000 now.
Oh, can I say something about Sargon? Hold on, I gotta get real close to this mic. Hold on.
Oh God, hold on. I'm gonna turn my volume down.
Sargon, shut the fuck up. Adults are talking. You are listening.
May I make a quick observation? And here's the thing. I tend to agree with you. I think some of the things that Sargon was doing was, I kind of feel a little beneath him.
He never should have fucking been there, period.
What I kind of think that Sargon was going for, #1, it was technically supposed to be a chat. It got turned into a debate. And let's face it, Richard Spencer, he wanted to debate, or at least Sargon wanted to. And Sargon was using specific tactics, asking him repeated different questions. I almost kind of feel Sargon used this as an opportunity to distance himself from the alt-right, because let's face it, a lot of folks have been throwing that alt-right tag onto him, so he kind of used this as a form of vindication. Folks can see me going after Richard Spencer, the evil leader of the alt-right, so he can kind of distance himself from this. The thing that gets me is, wasn't that what Kraut was doing, making his whole video series?
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and doxing server.
No. But I mean, like, the thing that gets me is just, I would have loved to hear Kraut debate Richard Spencer. I think that would have been amazing.
No, I want to.
Shit on.
Seriously, Styx. If it was just Styx and fucking Richard Spencer, it would have been perfect.
Didn't they chat before?
Yeah.
Like,
here's the thing, though. Styx is not going to lay into Richard Spencer.
He pretty
Styx
much
is going to continue to ask. No, he didn't. He's going to ask pointed questions and then go from there, and then they'll move on to the next question. And
No,
what Sargon was doing was jumping in there and trying to like shitpost the whole time to try. I don't even know what the fuck he was trying to do.
Sargon was doing. Sargon took it as an opportunity to try and virtue signal.
Yeah.
No, I think Styx had it. Styx had it balls to the wall. I'm sorry. He took that debate and owned it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I totally agree with you there. But Sargon took it upon himself because one of the things that he is very, very personally uncomfortable with is any kind of idea that he is somehow on a conservative side or on the right, quote unquote, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's probably a difference from, that stems a lot from the way the British view, quote unquote, right wing politics or Tories versus, how we look at it in the States. Tories are notorious for being part of the aristocratic, centrist movement. All right. Whereas we don't have an aristocracy here in the United States. So we have, major differences between the two. All right. But he's been very uncomfortable with people on the left calling him, saying that he is part of the right. He is part of the right. And so what he was doing was he was trying to virtue signal, see, I'm not part of the right. That's what he was doing.
Okay, look.
Yeah, but he looked like a chucklehead.
I can't deny that.
Well, I mean, the thing is that he laid I have to admit, he laid very meticulous, the way it was worded, the way he asked his questions, he laid very meticulous, very conniving traps, and I have to fucking commend him on that. No, they don't have penises, not those traps, but those verbal gotchas, he laid those fucking expertly. The problem is that I think Richard Spencer saw through that, and he was able to give the right answer to just to literally trigger. And that's such a cringy word to me now, but to literally trigger Sargon.
True. It's true.
Well, it worked.
No, it is.
Well,
yeah.
Well, 40 ounce. What color am I thinking of right now?
Well, Sargon was absolutely fucking useless throughout that whole goddamn debate. I'm sorry.
That was that's what I was making fun of. Like, seriously, the Richard Spencer. Oh, Sargon, I don't think you're as smart as you think you are. And Sargon's response is, "What color am I thinking of? Fucking shit, man."
Well, no, I mean that's an expert kind of gotcha trap, and the problem is that he was fucking emotional about it.
Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna claim to, oh well, I know what you're thinking. Well, then that's an excellent fucking comeback. The problem is that he didn't knock all the sand out of his vagina before he asked it.
Well, right, but the reason he was asking it was emotional. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. He took it from an emotional standpoint. It had been bugging him personally, right? Yeah. On an emotional level that he was quote unquote for the right.
Well, that's why he jumps on the stream and immediately begins to address one of the moderators. And what happened was Spencer repeatedly at the beginning is calling him autistic and laughing at him, and Sargon never recovered from it.
No.
The thing that gets me is, number one, I don't even think that Sargon was necessarily quote unquote triggered. I think he was almost kind of playing that he was offended by Richard Spencer because that would earn him some more I am not alt-right points.
If he was playing, he could have recovered.
Maybe. I mean, I'll be straight up. That was not his best performance that I've seen before. But it's just the thing that gets me is the main point that folks were arguing about, the whole ethno state. Richard Spencer even said at the beginning, he's like, well, this would be an ideal. He never even said, this is what we're immediately striving for.
Yeah, but hold on. Richard Spencer couldn't even clarify what a white person was.
Yeah, well, nobody has yet. Nobody's come out and say, okay, this
then
is
how
right,
the
because
fuck do you make a ethno state when you don't even know?
He doesn't want to offend potential allies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he did say he would keep most African Americans because they're 25% European by this point anyway.
And then we give them as an incentive to go back to Libya or whatever the fuck.
No.
Right?
No,
Liberia.
Right? Or Liberia, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, wait. You mean the colony created by Lincoln? Oh, that Liberia. Okay.
Oh, please, man. Like...
Yeah, it's amazing that Lincoln created that colony after he was dead.
I know. I wanted to get MC triggered. I'm trying to pull it.
Look, you know how difficult it would be to create an ethno state here, especially since we have so many people who are mixed. It's like, where do we send them to? Like, I'm French Portuguese.
It's almost like you would devolve into a purity spiral. We've never seen that before.
It would never fucking work.
Yeah. And just to bring something up, you know, this goes back to the whole point of what constitutes sorry, how should I say this? Is it the actions or is it the ideals that brought about the Civil War? Just like, what is going to bring about the white ethno-state? Is it the ideals or is it the actions? You know, I think it's the ideals.
It's Richard Spencer living in a fucking utopian bullshit.
I think he's just trying to get more folks to subscribe to his Patreon if he has one or something like that. That's what I kind of get out of it. Just because the thing that gets me is I think Millennial Woes, if you're going to go upon that line, he actually had a better idea. Was more like, well, we're trying to protect white people from getting marginalized, which there is an argument for that. But the thing that I found extremely entertaining about the conversation that we had is you had Richard Spencer basically saying, well, America would be an ideal place. It's like, okay, so you're going to claim the best country in the world to essentially turn into your ethno-state, which technically wasn't even yours to begin with. If you're going to do something like that, technically you should be in like Norway or maybe some part of like the UK or something like that, because technically that is where your ancestors came from.
Yeah, or fucking Greenland, where the whites constitute 98% of the fucking population.
Yeah, but you say you're Anglo-Saxon. Those roots of Anglo-Saxon came from Greece, which came from, you know,
Syria,
the Middle East.
Don't mention that part. It's complicated.
I'm sorry. This is bullshit. I'm sorry.
Of course it is. Of course. See, here's the thing. And like, this is why, like, I think most folks typically agree that Styx handled himself extremely well, because what did he do? He would entertain the idea and then kind of just point out the flaws. And I think we all remember what the definition of enlightened mind is.
Someone who reads lots of comic books.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
Hey,
I still got Mortal Kombat #1.
You know what? You got to save some pussy for the rest of us, because you're rolling in it, dude. Come on.
Oh, fucking, I know. All those pussies.
Well, what was even more interesting, though, is Spencer was basically the one pushing the whole white ethno-state and everything. This is a guy that, as far as I know, is American, was born here, has nenever really had to fear for his life, for anything like that.
Russian wife.
well, here's the thing. And you know what? I have no idea about that. And you know what? Hey, there are a lot of beautiful Russian women out there. But the thing that gets me is then you got Millennial Woes, who's in the UK, where immigration has become a big thing. And he's not even really pushing for ethno-state. It's just like, I just want to protect folks like me because we're kind of afraid. And like the folks that were arguing, like, you have a dude that really wasn't ever really facing any real oppression, basically pushing the envelope of the folks that actually may have faced some form of oppression. Just say it would just seem confusing to me.
Yeah. Well, it's the fact that he pushes it so fucking vigorously that it scares off normie fags. You know, it's just like people who... Well, I mean, people who might be open to the idea of anti-immigration coming in specifically from the Middle East, they turn around and, you know, Google arguments and up pops a Richard Spencer. So it's like, oh, well, fuck me.
But I will say, I got to get this out there. So I think her name is, what's her name? Citron or C something cunt. I don't know. She got into an argument with me about, oh, but the people of color, oh, but the queer people, oh, but the whiny ass shit, right? I'm like, bitch, I'm a lesbian. I watched the debate. Richard Spencer deserves a platform to speak on. You know why? Do you know why? Because as soon as they start censoring and taking away platforms for those people, what's to make them not come after us?
Well, that's the thing. Where does it end?
Well, no, and I agree.
If it would have been just Styx and Spencer, Styx would have systematically denuded Spencer of all of his points, but instead you had Chucklehead Sargon jumping in there trying to
Sargon. I've lost
like
all respect for that motherfucker, dude.
I did too, which is bad. Sargon failed.
Dude, I love his content, right? Like his actual when he makes the content, but then he goes on a debate and we're all just like, huh.
It's because he doesn't know how to debate.
Sargon drove people to Spencer because Sargon was so bad in that debate and Spencer was so good.
Well, hang
on a second.
I want to bring something up real quick.
Spencer wasn't good. He was persuasive. There's a difference between the two.
What's the difference in the debate?
Quick.
When you're good, you're making an argument that is making people believe what you're saying. There's not a lot of people that believe what he's saying, but he's being persuasive, and that's the only thing.
Yeah, but that's the biggest thing that you heard out of these assholes. Oh my God, you gave him a platform. Now he's gonna persuade everyone to become a fucking neo-Nazi or whatever the fuck shit.
I mean, they're already saying that Worski is, but that's beside the point.
Welcome, Brad. I want to get something out there real quick. His solution for the white ethno state was genetic testing.
I thought you were going to go into the Jewish question.
No, it was through 23andMe and those type of programs. It just came out not that long ago that 23andMe is throwing random, just saying you're like 25% African American, just to fuck with people. It's an
approximation.
Oh, that's fucked up.
That's the no. I actually spoke with somebody that I think a microbiologist, and they were telling. I asked them about that. I'm like, oh, it's like $20-30, and like, no, basically they look at you real quick from a very macroscopic point of view, and they say, okay, you have these particular facial features, so you're going to have approximately this much there. You can actually have your full human genome map for $600, but it's $600, not $20.
Yeah. But the problem with doing that, of course, is okay. What do you determine as African? What do you determine as European? What do you determine?
Who the hell cares?
Well, no, the whole thing with determining that. No, stop. Because the whole thing that they did, like one of the things that they did a while ago is they wanted to figure out how far Genghis Khan spread his genes, his DNA. So they took DNA from people around the world and they looked for specific lines in their DNA that matched up. And that's how they were able to tell that they were from the descent of Genghis Khan. It could be, fucking 64 people down the line, but it was there. That's basically all it is. It's not saying like, oh, I'm 82% whatever and 3% this.
There's one thing, Bradley, to look at specific, unique identifiers to an individual. It's something else, however, when you start talking about it in a broad-based sense of saying, okay, these are the Huns. Okay, because what's then a Hun? All right, you see my point?
Right. So I see your point, but the most logical way I can see it, and I don't know anything about biology, so I'm just spitballing here, is you take the group of people that are Huns that have lived in the area for however many years, right? And then you take DNA from them, and then you can use that DNA as like as a test control, I suppose.
But you don't have a test control from where the Huns began in the first place. Okay, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can say that we're there are certain traits in common. Okay, but the problem is that those traits are also in common with many other groupings. So you've got an idea, you have to have a way of going, okay, it only could come from here, but there's no way of ever doing that. Why? Because frankly, everyone has been intermixing on this frickin' planet for thousands and literally tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. So, and what's more is then you throw in the other aspect of this, which is, okay, human DNA evolves, but we don't know when an evolutionary change has actually come into being or when it hasn't. So when you start adding all this into account, you really have such a mix of saying, okay, it's generally like this and it's generally like that. You can make general comments, but you can't sit up there and say, this is 100% this way. This is 100% that way. This is even, I mean, it becomes ridiculous. Now, when you start talking about mitochondrial DNA, right, which is a matriarchal lineage, all right, as you're going through against specific individuals to say, okay, there is a tie-in here, then you can say yes or no because of how you can do that. But even then, over time, you're running into risks because you're just comparing it against a single individual, but you don't know whether or not that individual back in the past, how many other people contain similar type of things for you to say, okay, this is what this is.
Well, no, and also if you're talking about a white ethno-state, what ethno-state, what ethnicity? Because you have Irish, you have Germans, you have Polish. I mean, what do you constitute as white? And that question was asked to Spencer, and his answer was, I don't know. Well, then you're not really doing a good job of creating your perfect society, then, are you, bud?
I agree that we need a working definition of whiteness, and that is something that
we don't. But I have a question for you, MC. Actually,
if you're trying to create a white ethno-state, you need to know what white is.
Well, okay, if you're going to sit up there and entertain the idea of an ethno-state is somehow viable, but I think we pretty much determined that it's not, right?
No, Why not? Well, I mean, the problem with creating a quote-unquote white ethno-state is that there are multiple groups from, let's just say, Europe at large that are white. But the problem is that you're talking about different types of phenotypes that are specific to certain areas of Eastern Europe, for instance. That it's just like, right, these people are slightly genetically different, so logically speaking, are they not white? Since this one part of their phenotype or their gene mapping doesn't exactly match that of someone from France or Spain or Portugal or Italy or what have you. So, I mean, the problem is that when you start to get down to the more local level, technically nothing is white.
Guys, I actually just solved it. I found the white ethno-state. I just put it in the chat.
Oh, excellent.
But, I mean, one step further would be like, okay, the Irish, nowadays, they're considered white. It's in New York. They were not considered white. They weren't in London in the 1800s. I mean, so the definition of whiteness, so-called, has shifted throughout the ages, and it will continue to shift. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Is Jerry Seinfeld white? He's Jewish. He looks pretty fucking white to me.
Well, according to Spencer's logic, no, he's not white. He's the what's the word that starts with an O? The Oshmaka?
Oh,
Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi.
I think
that's what Spencer would say.
Yeah, but he still ended up throwing them kind of under the bus.
Yeah,
still.
But no, I have a question for MC. In regarding the whole intermingling thing. If that's true, then how do you explain places like Iceland where they have been essentially genetically inbreeding with each other, and they're so isolated to the point of they literally have a government program for a dating app to say, hey, I'm going to enter this person's ID number to make sure that I'm not going to fuck up the gene pool by fucking them.
You bring up a very interesting point, Bradley, and I just actually have to ask my major question that I took out of that debate. Is Carlton Banks from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air black?
Okay. And when you have groups in isolation, okay, to come back and say, okay, how close am I on a genetic level? All right. That's an entire different situation.
Well, no, because this is a country that has had accessibility to the rest of the world by air and sea for almost 100 years. It has just enough time to intermix as everybody else from around the world.
No.
Yes.
No. How many people you got? When did Iceland, all right, begin to actually have immigration into it and out of it?
I don't know offhand, but it's about the same time as the innovations of flight.
Well,
that's going to be my guess.
How? All right. Well, you really start to see Iceland actually get any kind of immigration, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, after World War II. Because World War II it became important. All right. So you see more Americans going in and out of there. How many stayed though? Who wants to sit? I mean, let's be honest. Who wants to stay in a country called Iceland?
I wouldn't mind.
Really?
I mean, it's green. Yeah. It's not Greenland.
Greenland is icy.
Stay there over the frickin' winter until say that again. Well, it is that close to. So. It's that close to the Arctic Circle that in the wintertime you don't see sun. Okay, for maybe 20 hours. I think they get 20 hours of darkness. All right.
Well, to be fair, that kind of seems like Massachusetts as well. I'm just saying, but guys, actually, no, I think I actually did find the perfect place for the white ethno state. If you look in the chat, I just linked to sealand.gov.
Yeah.
And for anybody that may or may not be familiar with it, Sealand is an old oil drilling rig that used to be owned by the UK, and then post-World War II was essentially abandoned. Some dude and a bunch of rabble-rousers ended up taking Sealand over with some guns. The British sent their navy over there to retake it. They ended up starting shooting at the British, and the British were like, well, we don't really want to massacre these people, so they just turned around and left because they didn't really care.
You also don't want to blow up an oil rig in the middle of the ocean.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, hey, they're very progressive. They want to protect the seas and everything. So the thing is, what is a country? A country is basically defined as an area that has the ability to defend its borders, and that's pretty much it. They defended their borders. They're out in the middle of the ocean. You got like a couple dozen folks there. If you click on the link, you could actually become a baron or baroness of Sealand.
Oh, fuck me.
Imagine Richard Spencer, Baron of Sealand.
That's amazing.
That would be good because in order to do that, you have to give up U.S. citizenship.
Well, that would probably fuck him there. But he could be surrounded by a bunch of white people, even if it's like 2 or 3 dozen of them.
Couldn't he do dual citizenship?
The United States does not recognize dual citizenship anymore.
It doesn't?
When did that happen?
It has grandfathered it. All right, but any new person has to declare their citizenship, whether they're going to be an American citizen or whether or not they're going to be somebody else.
Is that more of a Trump administration thing, or
no? This came about in the 1990s.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute though, because I guess Bret Hart, he's a dual citizen in Canada, U.S., but that was the 80s. Michael J. Fox was that the 80s as well. I mean, I can think of a few people with Canadian and American citizenship.
I know this because when my daughter was born, they had ended. She was born in Germany. All right. But at that point, they had ended dual citizenship between America and Germany. And so she had to declare whether or not she was going to be a German citizen or whether or not she was going to be an American citizen.
Hey, baby, you can't be a dual citizen. I'm sorry.
Well, that wouldn't make. I mean, I'm sure you're right, but that just doesn't make sense because one of my friends, they had to quite literally fight the Israeli government to keep her from getting drafted into the military, even though she was a U.S. citizen. They said because her parents were Jewish citizens and also American citizens, that she was a Jewish citizen.
Well, that's on the what the Israelis recognize is one thing. I'm talking about what Americans recognize, what the United States recognizes.
Well, right, but just in my mind, like by the logic of Israel going after Jewish people to come back to serve their few years, wouldn't that mean that the U.S. would be compliant in that, or would they just say, "Fuck it, we're not going to send them back"?
we don't have to recognize the fact that they're anything but U.S. citizens. Right?
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that.
Whether Israel recognized a dual citizenship platform or not is immaterial. If they recognize themselves then, or they declare themselves as Israeli, that they're an Israeli citizen, if they recognize themselves as that, then they will lose U.S. citizenship.
Okay, well, let's loop back around to the debate. Did Millennial Woes have anything valid to add? Because I didn't really watch that part yet, so I was just curious.
Michael Fishborn.
He should not have been dropped into that chat.
No, he shouldn't have.
No,
and that drives me nuts when you're having a debate or a chat between three people and some other random joker jumps in. Millennial Woes are not. Spencer did not need any help. Sargon needed help, if anything.
Well, I think part of it was Sargon. I don't know who invited him, but I think Sargon may have invited him because he could kind of muddy the waters and then just turn it into, "Oh, you're all stupid. I don't have to justify my opinion."
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason they did that is because they were trying to kind of balance it out. Because I forget. I think was it Styx left, so they were trying to rebalance.
No, Styx didn't leave until like the last half hour. He came. Millennial Woes came in at about the 2.5, 3 hour mark, so he was in there for about an hour.
Yeah, I don't think Millennial Woes had much to add to the conversation that was valuable. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Millennial Woes is, as far as I know, he's kind of like a watered-down Richard Spencer. Like, if Richard Spencer doesn't know what he's talking about, at least he can troll you, but Millennial Woes can't do that. I guess it's a bit of an easier target.
I think that Millennial Woes, if you're going to entertain the idea, actually has a more valid argument, because Richard Spencer's out there kind of preaching to the choir. Oh, we're going to have a super white ethno-state, blah, 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 yakety schmackety, whereas Millennial Woes, more of his argument is based upon probably a lot more of the immigration side of things. He's like, guys, what's going on? You're telling us that we're the worst people in the world, and you're bringing in all these other folks that hate us. What's happening? Like, I think that you could have a much better argument from that perspective.
Agreed.
Yeah,
but we never had that argument. We just were hurling nukes at each other.
Yeah. Well, it was the fact that it was because it was Richard Spencer. It was because it was Richard Spencer. I mean, he's kind of way out in, right field, to be quite frank. He literally argued at one point for an aristocracy, so
he literally argued for moral genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Well, here's the thing. If you're gonna turn the United States of America basically into you're not doing it via violence. See, for me, like, if I was there, I'd kind of entertain his idea and be like, okay, so how would you actually go about this? And just listen to him. And then my final rebuttal would be, if I want to ask a Kenyan goddess out for sushi, god damn it, I'm going to do it. Don't take away my choice.
If it was me, I would have thrown, like, some black guy or any of the other black...
No.
Some black guy has
Why
no
not?
arguments. He's
Why
a parrot.
fucking not? I would have told him.
No, some black guy is a good guy. However, the way he does things is he is, and this isn't an insult to him at all. He is a smart guy, but he is not. His channel is not designed that level.
Bradley, I do think it would have been interesting to just basically have Richard Spencer tell him, now, you're just going to go up and leave. And he's just going to be like, bitch, fuck you.
No, here's the thing.
Just to rub Richard Spencer the wrong way. I would have done it.
He doesn't hate black people.
Yeah, he doesn't hate black people. He just thinks that white people are superior. Yeah, that's his thing.
He doesn't hate black people, but we need to send them all back to Liberia or Ghana.
Didn't say that.
Oh, yes, he did.
What he said is that it is not feasible to send African Americans or Asian Americans back to their prospective home countries. That's what he said. He never said just send them all back to Africa.
No, he said he wanted to make their own ethno-state.
their own ethno-state is not sending them back to Africa.
He also wanted to release the Native Americans back into the wild.
that was the funniest.
That was
I'm sorry, Richard Spencer.
They're irrelevant at this point.
Is a disingenuous fucking piece of shit, and fuck his ethno-state.
You can make all these claims, but until you actually engage in this debate, I don't know what you even have to add here.
Who's talking?
Coffee.
Oh. Hey.
You're throwing out claims. I want you to actually... Did you even watch the debate?
Yes, I watched the debate.
Okay, well, we're arguing the points that the debaters made. If you can engage on that level, I'd appreciate it.
Well...
What stream is this, the RedEye?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the RedEye. No, but we are going through it. I wanted to go through it point by point if we could, as much as I can remember, or any of us, because it was a shit show.
Richard Spencer is still a disingenuous cunt.
Oh, he is.
But he absolutely deserves the platform to be on.
No, but I really think
I don't know what the fuck your problem is with me, Coffee. That's cool.
I don't think Coffee has a problem with you. I think, though, if Ghazi Toto and Richard Spencer had coffee one day, they might be able to figure this whole shit out.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
It would have.
No, because Ghazi Kozo actually hates white people.
So does Richard Spencer.
No, he doesn't.
Richard Spencer hates white people?
Well,
no,
not white people, but...
He has a disdain for... I don't know how to word this properly. He has a disdain for people of other races. That's his problem. He does not hate a specific race.
Like a troll to me.
No, believing that your race is superior does not mean that you hate other groups. It just means that you
not at all.
Does he think that whites are superior, or does he just think that the groups separate into their own? Oh, well, see.
Everything great is white.
Yeah.
Well, and the science supports it, too, if you're going to go into the race and IQ argument.
But why do people prefer black cars, usually?
I'm going to go get drunk more. Hey, Layla, can you give me a beer, baby?
Coffee, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, personally, I know that math kind of starts in every aspect of the world. I mean, the Norse have their own ability to do math. The Chinese had their own ability to do math, so on and so forth.
Well, what's your point?
Oh, he actually got dropped. Well, I think what he was saying is that math originated in multiple parts of the world, and so it's maybe not necessarily. Math isn't specific to one specific sect of the world.
No. It's the math and sciences aspect where these things, while they did flourish in European countries, they started all over the world. It's not inherently a European thing.
Where did they start?
The thing with Richard Spencer saying that everything, essentially everything that's good is white, and that's why we got to the fucking moon. Come on.
Immigration got us to the moon. That's right.
Well, and Coffee
got us to the moon.
The place of math for Africa is actually in Egypt. They had a set of systems where it was counts by 10 because 10 was apparently a holy number to them. So you do things in rounds of 10s.
Right. That was not. You can take Egypt, and say that and extrapolate that to Africa. I really.
Well, it's an African country.
I haven't taken.
Well, I mean, it is specific only to Africa. I mean, if you do look at Asia, the continent, not like I don't mean.
It's hard to you can't conflate Japan with the United States.
Well, no. I'm trying to conflate Africa and Asia.
No. I'm just saying.
Where does the concept of 10 come from?
The Egyptians had a thing for math where like 10 was like a holy number or some shit like that.
You can believe that if you want, but when it was written down, the one group that everyone points to, all right, when you're talking about the groups of 10, comes specifically from Phoenicia. Now,
I would corroborate that.
The Phoenicians have tentacles all throughout the Middle East and Africa. So if you want to call them Africans, if you want to call them...
there you go.
Asians, if you want to call them... You can call them a lot of things. The Phoenicians, people. The Phoenicians were basically the founders of Carthage. They founded the Phoenicians were a boat people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they have tentacles all up and down and throughout the Mediterranean and Africa. They kind of even built a Suez Canal before the Suez Canal was even built.
Right, MC. My point is not the fact that Africa made 10. My point is that math and sciences do start outside of Europe. Europe may have been the flourishing grounds of it, but they do start in other places.
Yeah, I mean, the Fibonacci sequence was founded in India like almost 2,000 years before,
right.
Oh, fuck, what was his name? Pythagoras even kind of founded it. So, I mean, and that's two very different parts of the world with very different cultures and everything. So it's not specific to Egypt, but developing math is specific to, shall we say, high IQ areas. If you want to call them that, I guess.
The development of math comes about because people in areas that you have enough of a luxury that people aren't at the foot of starvation. You have changed from a hunter-gatherer society to where you can create buildings and stuff on a large scale where you can have there's enough resources that people not dedicated to agriculture can begin to develop.
Yeah. Well, and I have to agree. I have to take.
Well, real quick. Lady Thorns in the chat. Africa didn't have math, but Africans were trading outside of Egypt or anywhere really connected to Egypt since well before any of them saw a white person. No math. I believe she. Well, you heard her.
No, you have Mad we actually didn't hear her. We actually didn't because your kids keep fucking screaming, you little fucker.
Calm down.
Well, then leave, man. If you don't like my kids in the background, leave. I really don't care, dude. I'm tired of hearing it every show. No, it's just the same joke over and over again, man. Come on.
Well, your kids are screaming in the background. I mean,
yeah, talking and screaming. Okay, just I don't know. Go around a kid once in a while.
Oh my God, there's too many people here.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in the stream right at the moment.
Anyways, so I'm going to say my last piece about Richard Spencer and that whole clusterfuck debacle. I think Six Hex and Hammer did an excellent job. JF shouldn't have been there. Sargon shouldn't have been there. It should have been just him and Andy. Spencer deserves the platform he got, etc. I mean, that's reasonable, right?
I mean, I suppose. I think JF contributed a bit. I think
he need to shut the fuck up.
He didn't talk for quite a lot of the stream.
Because we're talking about Ray Swarsky's stream, huh?
Yeah.
Andy, if it ain't white, it ain't right, Worski. Oh yeah.
Yeah, if it ain't right, it ain't white. You know, that's all I've been hearing on this. Whiskey, yeah. That's all I've been hearing on this goddamn stream.
Medicare's an asshole.
Oh, I fucking love Medicare. He's hilarious. I liked him after that stream.
I want to see Medicare in a discussion with Spencer.
Oh, that'd be funny. I'd pay money to see that shit.
Nothing to get solved, but it'd be hilarious.
The bastion of free speech. Thank God for Richard Spencer.
Fuck. What the fuck were we talking about? Math?
We were on math, yeah.
Oh, real quick. Benny, what's this I hear about you being a cuck?
Oh, God
damn it. No, not this stream. No.
No. Hey, I gotta say, Ogre is a fucking micro dick piece of shit. There. I win.
I just read it in Discord. I don't even know what this is about.
He decided to be a total, completely vagina and block me and Benny and everybody else, and I called him a micro dick motherfucker live.
But I'm a cuck. I'm sorry. Who was the first one to block me? Who was it? Definitely wasn't me.
It's just another internet tough guy. I'm a big old bitch.
Can we just stick to
let's get back to the thing.
Yeah. I got a micro dick.
Oh, I'm an internet tough guy.
Yeah, same here. Except I'll
now that we're back to the real topic. All right, ethno steak, guys. Let's do it. Let's build it.
The size of the micro dick. It's how you use it.
Yeah. Oh, the micro dick is building our white ethno state. Thank God.
The reality of the white ethno state, right, is that there's no place to put it.
I'm a mixed
You can't
race
put it in
supremacist.
Antarctica.
Sure, there is.
You can't put it on Mars.
Space.
No, Sealand has no resources. Space has
Atlantis.
no. You have to get it back from the Earth. If you have the United States as it is now, Russia as it is now, all the disparate countries of Africa as they are now, Asia, China, the European Union, they're not going to send resources to some white nationalist space colony, okay, or some colony on Antarctica. But I would. There is no place for a white ethno state on this globe right now.
No.
So I don't know why we're even entertaining the idea of having one.
Because it's a thought experiment.
But it is important that we understand what whiteness is and what we intend to preserve.
Yeah, but Richard Spencer doesn't even know what whiteness is. He was asked.
Well, neither does Sargon. Neither does Millennial Woes.
I don't think either of them really get a chance to fully express their thoughts. They were just kind of bantering about.
Spencer and Woes refused to define it.
Yeah, you know why? Because there isn't a way to define it.
Sargon didn't take the opportunity.
Well, he didn't define it, but what he did do is he did say that the Nordic region, some of the European regions, as well as the Slavic regions, he defines as white.
Well, and Persians.
You know, and by the way, American
and Persians and Iranians apparently.
Yeah, they're Persian.
Here's a really interesting thing about this, and as MC was talking about, although I do have to correct him, it was approximately about 5,000 years ago at the Tower of Babel. Basically, mankind had reached its height there, and all of mankind was together, and we built too high, tower came crumbling down, and then mankind went its separate ways, and then bada boom, bada bing, 5,000, 250,000 years later, oh, look, we all kind of developed to survive in our own regions, and now we're traveling back to each other.
We declared ourselves as like God, and God shattered that and sent us all about our ways.
I don't know. I tend to think
that's how the story goes.
Circle. Well, no, exactly. I'm not that familiar. I just remember Professor Peterson's lecture and just kind of reading a little bit about that, just in what was it, Genesis or whatever it was. But basically, it's like that whole concept of that mankind was together, and then we kind of went our own separate way. Because it literally says, like, we all spoke the same language, we all got along, and then just humanity. Well, things kind of fell apart. We all go our separate ways. So whether you're going to articulate that into, well, we were all together, we had a common ancestor in Pangea, the continents drifted apart, and then we kind of all just adapted to survive, and now we're coming back together. It's just, I don't know, things do always seem to come full circle.
The main point of that story is that we had declared ourselves as God in the moment where we completed the tower. That's the whole point of the story. The whole point of the story isn't the ascendance of man to the point where we were God. It's that we were all one people and we finally got along, right? It was that we decided to elevate ourselves to the position of God, and God said no.
So it's kind of like getting to 99% in the game and being like, fuck it, I don't want to finish, so you just erase your game and start over?
Yeah. No, it's a forced death scene in the game where you have to start over.
Well, that's
the game literally forces you to die. God. Yeah, that's what that story's about. It's not about all of a sudden we have some argument once we've gotten to Godhead position.
Well,
whoa, we just went off the rails there. So speaking of dramatic debates,
some outside force did it.
Oh, I hear you, Mega.
So I think Coffee, have you looked into the kind of Midwestern ethno-state theory by chance?
I think it's ridiculous, but yeah.
So, I mean, I think hypothetically, if you want to break off parts of the South and give it to the blacks and give California essentially back to Mexico, I think that's plausible. But at the same time, you would be compromising or kind of manifest destiny or the inherent human need to kind of conquer everything, you would be kind of scrapping that. And I don't think that that's a viable option.
True. Our best chance to have an ethno-state is for Texas to secede. At that point, I know a lot of people that are like, if Texas secedes, I'm definitely moving to Texas.
Didn't Texas already try to do that?
Many a time.
Yes.
Hey, Benny, that's a low blow, buddy. Or not Benny, that was Bradley. Sorry, Benny.
I'm legitimately asking. Did Texas already try to do that?
No, it didn't.
Years ago, they tried to vote it in and it didn't work. It was the Texas militia, I think, tried it.
Okay.
No,
I'm from Texas. I remember this when I was a child. It didn't work.
I'm just saying that's
Texas
our best
was in the Civil War. They just
all the same people went, fuck no.
Our best chance is a wave of secessions for whatever reason. I'm not saying that if California secedes, it's going to be an ethno-state.
Well,
you're not going to get an
okay, here's the thing, though. If a state were to secede, the military would go in and control that border like their fucking lives depended on it. They would not make it easy for that state to survive on its own. Like, the state would crumble almost as soon as it's put up.
You know what you could do? This could be an option. You choose something like, I don't know, where's Richard Spencer from? Wisconsin or some shit? So you choose there, and you do like a free state of New Hampshire type deal, where they invited all the libertarians to move over.
I do not want your ilk in my state. You can just take that out.
Yeah, libertarians aren't white enough.
Well, no,
don't confuse anti with libertarians.
No, but
they're all the same to me. They're all just inane dribble.
So Richard Spencer could be like, "Hey, it's the white state of Wisconsin. Move here, and you guys could try. I mean, good luck." But then you could change local laws.
Virginia already tried that.
Wisconsin's kind of white already. I mean, like, what are you really doing? Like, why does it matter?
When they founded the state of Oregon, they wouldn't allow any blacks in.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you got to make sure people can pump the gas. Got to have those jobs for the good old white folk.
You can have white people doing that. I mean, that's the one point about Richard Spencer's aristocracy. Not all white people are going to be at the top of the IQ scale. Okay, you still need lower class people to flip burgers, pump gas, etc.
Well, the robots will be doing that soon enough.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, then the robots would still be second-class citizens.
I mean, if you don't know how to pump gas, you kind of deserve to get pushed off the food chain.
Talk to Oregon.
I would like to state for the record now, once our cybernetic overlords fully gain consciousness, I do believe robot lives matter.
Fag.
Hey. I'm just playing, and let's actually. I
want to point to the chat real quick. So Thorn, goodbye, fuck you. I think she's talking to the panel, and all we're doing is discussing the topics that they didn't discuss on that debate that they shouted about. So if you're offended by an actual discussion about hard to talk about topics, then have a nice day. I hope you don't subscribe. I like you. I've talked to you a bunch. Yeah, then don't.
What he meant to say was, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah, because all we're doing is that we're discussing the topics they were discussing in a calm manner. No one's really yelled at each other yet. So
let me make it clear: I am inherently against an ethno-state. I think it's a stupid fucking idea.
I'm pretty sure everyone.
And I generally have a distaste for anything regarding racial segregation. I think it's retarded.
I don't see any problem in entertaining it.
Well, and in discussing it, I have no issue. In wanting to enact it, that's where I kind of have an issue.
If you're really invested in fully exploring the experiment of having an ethno-state, you need to talk about it as if you plan on enacting it at some point.
I think we should all mix till we're.
You're missing this point is going over your head. I'm okay with talking about it, even to this extent. But the idea of it ever actually being a thing is retarded. It will never work.
Oh, I hear you, but what I'm saying is at this point, if you're really going to argue for it, you know, if we're going to have this debate, there's got to be people for and against. If you're going to argue,
you guys are agreeing.
You need to argue as if it is a possibility, as if you plan on one day enacting this.
You guys you can argue about it, but it never will be a possibility. That's the thing.
Well, anyway, that's not the point, though. The point is we're going through a controversial stream. I mean, already there's a lot of controversy around this stream. And I believe in free speech. And these topics we will discuss.
So what was happening to Adam or AJ or whatever the hell, Worski?
Media Matters put out a hit piece already. I'm sure other outlets are going to jump on board as well. What do you guys think?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It did have to do with Richard Spencer, which brought in a lot of folks to view it, plus the sheer fact that at one point it was the #1 trending worldwide on YouTube. Basically, they have to hammer it. It wouldn't actually surprise me if at some point you saw a mention of it on the mainstream media, clipped out of context, of course.
Yeah, well, they're obviously going to do this. So they just want the clicks.
Well, and it all kind of cascades back from the Kraut thing with the whole server, and then the one reporter lady being involved, and I think it just kind of cascaded from there, where somebody got interested and followed the rabbit hole, and now they think that Worski is a white supremacist.
Yeah, Medicare had nothing to do with that.
Well, Medicare was there. He was a facilitator, but nobody knows who Medicare really is.
To be fair, if all of a sudden you hear...
Well, okay, I understand that he's Jim, but you need to understand that nobody knows who he really is in real life. We know who Andy is because Andy puts himself out there. He is Andy Worski. That's what I'm saying.
Adam Race Worski.
Yeah, no, exactly. The thing that you run into, it just especially the sheer fact that it hit #1. If all of a sudden somebody Googles or looks on Twitter about Andy Worski, all they're going to see for the past week is basically Andy Worski memed in a bunch of old Hitler and Nazi photos. So to be fair to the mainstream media, if that's the first thing they find, that could be problematic.
Well, that's not the problem. The problem is that they're too stupid to actually investigate it any further than that.
Right.
That's the problem.
Like, people are lazy.
Yeah. The fact that they boast about such high morality, such high IQ, such journalistic integrity, and oh, what's this? A hit piece on someone you don't know.
They're not stupid.
Journalism is dead and has been dead for about 10 years now.
Well, yeah, in order for them to be alive, they don't expect you to go past the headlines, and neither do they.
No, they stop when they hit narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, shit. Is there anything else about the stream anyone wants to talk about? Should we talk about how how our immigration program got us to the moon, maybe?
Well, that, and also we haven't even brought up fucking Styx, the super libertarian, in the debate.
I want to bring something up real quick. Okay, we didn't boom because of immigration. We boomed because of warfare. The fact that in that span of time, yes, immigrants were coming in, but we were also involved in 2 world wars. When you're at war with someone, you're consistently developing technology to try and best them. And then eventually that technology becomes applicable to the civilian world.
It's not only that, it's that every other country's factories got bombed out.
Well, yeah, we started.
But what I'm saying is that the production for warfare helped move our country forward. And then eventually at World War II, when we took plans for the V2 rockets, we were able to develop a space program. That helped a lot. I mean, we weren't the first ones to go to space, but we were damn near close.
We had a unifying, severe, traumatic, emotional moment in Pearl Harbor, and that just brought the country together. And so we focused on a goal of basically fighting and winning that war. So Bradley, it was like you guys were both saying, that brought us together. It helped push us. But again, America, we are a melting pot. We have brought in folks from all over. But you need that combined with the different ideas, perspectives, backgrounds in whatever science or whatever it may be there.
Well, and but we weren't invested in World War II. We got dragged into it because Japan decided to bomb us preemptively.
Well, it's like you said, we collectively got together to do something. And I'm going to give a very bad example here, but back during the days of Alpha, Arc, Survival Evolved, all I wanted to do was just be a dwarf, building a little base by the river, tame some raptors, play with my cousin. What ended up happening is my cousin never ended up picking the game up. I ended up making some friends with a couple of folks around there, and this was during the war with the Chinese. And all these chaos, there were some articles written about it. And my interaction with the Chinese over there, I'm like, okay, I got killed once or twice, but aside from the folks that I knew they were trying to hunt me, I'm like, yeah, you just accidentally killed me with your raptor. And one of the guys gave me a cool leather hat skin that I could put on there. I'm like, and he was like, sorry. And I'm like, oh, he's cool. The only reason we're having an argument is because we don't understand the words coming out of each other's mouths here. But eventually, after we got raided by the Chinese, we fought them back. We ended up becoming the biggest tribe on the server, conquering the server after they had basically killed our Spinosaurus named Bubbles.
Okay, so question. What does that have to do with America getting dragged into World War II?
Basically, all I'm saying is we got completely wrecked by an outside force. We banded together and we started developing technology, farming, and basically we bust our asses to win.
That was not the start of it, though. Who said that we weren't invested in World War II before the bombing? Because we were shipping arms to both sides.
Fuck yeah. Same with World War One.
Absolutely.
That's what people don't get. When just because a country isn't involved in a war that size with military,
not militarily, right?
Doesn't mean they're not involved. Like when people are like, "Well, Switzerland stays out of wars." No, they fucking don't.
No. Well, and if you want my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with selling to both sides. Honestly, I don't.
You what? You don't think it's somehow morally or ethically wrong to sell weapons to both sides?
No. Well, I mean, slightly, but it's enough that it's not going to keep me awake at night.
As long as you're not inciting the war.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to incite. I'm not going to start a war and say, "Hey, take these nukes, go fucking throw them at them." Right? If there's something going on, you just say, "Hey, we can produce stuff for you if you want."
Hey, if it wasn't for
just throw a little dinero our way.
Tony Stark wouldn't be Iron Man. Bam.
Yeah, and you wonder why America is called a war country.
Every country.
Well, people are warlike. It's people, it's not countries.
As long as there are two people in the world, they'll find a way to hate each other.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with letting people hate each other to the point of trying to kill each other.
Yes, but
we're already overpopulated.
No, but
just let people kill each other.
Very, very wrong with selling weapons to both sides to further fuel the conflict. If you didn't, there'd be less people dead. That's common sense.
Right. What if you were selling arms to both the blacks and the whites in the event of a race war?
Oh God, I'd be a fucking millionaire, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't do that, would you?
Wait a minute. Is Richard Spencer for Helter Skelter? Is that what just happened here?
Oh God.
No. But no, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with selling to both sides. I mean, if it's an ally, then yeah, it's probably best not to sell to both sides.
Do everyone a favor and go to church, please.
Oh, get fucked, dude! No,
some humanity.
No, a company is not the moral equivalent of a state. I mean, you're talking about two different entities. A state is beholden to the people, whereas a company is beholden to the investors to make money. I mean, you're talking about the obligations of a state. You're talking about an overarching different moral structure. You know, if a company doesn't make money, it's not a moral company because it's not paying back to the investors. It's not supplying the country with jobs. I mean, these are very different moral standards.
Come on. No, when it comes to greed, don't try to bring a moral argument into greed.
It is a moral argument.
It's a fiduciary argument, I'd say. 40. Morality and the fiduciary duty is to the stockholders, like you said, to provide the profit there. I'm sorry, I'm nitpicking, but
no, that's fine.
No, but all I'm saying is the voice is he's bringing up a good point. As far as morality goes, a lot of companies don't always score high in the morality department these days, or at least PR wise.
No, I understand, but again, that is a completely different set. That is a morality that is that is a kind of morality that is divorced, there we go, from corporate morality. So, I mean, to sell weapons to both sides, if anything, you have an obligation to do so. Because
come on,
it's moral to make money. No, put your
companies are by and large amoral, not immoral.
Sorry?
They're amoral. They don't have. There is no morality to a general company philosophy. It's to achieve the goal, regardless of the means, as long as they're not illegal or as long as they don't get caught. It's an amoral outlook, not an immoral or a moral one.
Oh yeah, that's true. I can get behind that.
You know, I mean, whether or not you agree with what a company does, the company is amoral. So things that it does may be seen as immoral by one group, moral by another.
Okay. Yeah, but does the state?
However, I have to add one thing, and this is kind of a dig at Mad, but also in general. The dumbest idea I've ever, and I haven't heard Matt espouse this, but I think he believes it because I'm going to stereotype him. The dumbest political idea I've ever heard of is the non-aggression principle.
I agree.
Shots fired.
Across the bow, baby.
I don't know. We're not going to talk about the NAP today.
That's another stream. Ooh.
Yeah. But do you believe that the state has a obligation to stop that company from selling to both sides?
That depends.
Yeah, I mean,
are they doing it in the name of the state, or are they doing it in the name of the company? Because if it's a company that's got different locations across the world, I mean, it's a company doing it, not a nation. If it's a singular company with only locations in a single country, then it becomes an issue of, okay, it's technically coming from this country. Again, I think the only way you could really tie the country to it is by if it's being sanctioned by the country, if they're the ones making the deals with the company, with the countries that they're selling to. Aside from that, no, I think it's strictly a company thing, and the state should stay out of it.
Is the state getting paid?
By taxes, of course it is.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, I guess it also depends on whose boat the weapons are taking over to the warring country. I mean, if it's going to be on government boats, it's got to be sanctioned by the government somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, if you're a company that can afford to mass produce weapons like that, I'm fairly certain you can purchase some sort of shipping rig to send munitions over to whatever country you're going to go to, provided they have a port.
Yeah.
Well, Coffee said he has to bounce in a couple of minutes. Any last thoughts on this debate or anything else you want to throw out there? You have the floor, sir.
Not too much. It's just I think Richard Spencer won, although we really need to, if we're going to be putting people like Sargon in there to counter him, they got to step up their game.
Yeah.
Styx would have done a good job, but he didn't get that much time to talk.
Well, he was a moderator. He wasn't there to talk.
No, Styx was not a moderator.
Styx was just he actually
him and JF were both moderators.
No. JF was a moderator. Styx was there to talk.
JF and Warski were moderators.
Oh, okay. I guess I had that confused when I was watching it.
Styx
was pretty early in the morning.
Waiting patiently to be kind of acknowledged, and he didn't want to jump in.
Styx is the infinite peacemaker, and unfortunately, he's not quite assertive. He doesn't want to create waves necessarily. So, if it was just Styx and Sargon, or just Styx and Spencer talking about white ethno state, then he probably would have shown a bit more. But like, if you're going to throw Sargon in there, like he's really going to need to stop being a chucklehead, and he's got to be able to keep his footing in a debate. You know, not attacking moderators. But
I have to say, at the start of that debate, Sargon, I think, wanted to score points. He didn't come in good faith to debate what is a philosophical idea. He came in to score points.
He absolutely did not. Yeah, you're right, Voice.
Well, it wasn't a debate, though. It was a conversation.
Yeah, it was a discussion.
Those are famous last words.
Well, here's the thing. Sargon had a really good conversation with ContraPoints. He got ContraPoints to say some really fucked up shit that Contra's usually pretty good about not actually stating.
Because they went in both with good faith.
The one thing you notice about Sargon, when it's one-on-one, that's one thing. But you see, when he gets starts into actual debates, you saw it with Christy Winters. He gets all fuddled. No, I don't think Sargon is a good debater.
Oh no, he's terrible.
No, as long as if he's not in control of the conversation, then he's terrible.
Well, again, I think, and this goes to basically a lot of things these days, but I think when it came to Sargon, his ego played a bigger part in that discussion than his reason.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Did you guys see the morally gray friended aftermath stream?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I want to say it was morally gray mentioned that Sargon's a culture warrior. No, it was Fox. They had Fox join in, and I think Fox mentioned it. He said Sargon is not after the truth. Sargon's after a win. So, he might be on your side most of the time, but he's not looking for the fact. He's looking for his side to win.
Well, he openly declares that, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not a secret, but that's the thing. So, yeah, there's a chance Sargon doesn't go into these. When Sargon goes into debate mode, he's not going in good faith. He's going to win. That's what he wants to do. So, and when you go for that, if you're not being honest and somebody catches it, they'll fucking,
Yeah, and unfortunately for Sargon, Spencer's too smart for that.
Well, so Spencer's kind of like a politician because he's running to be president or king or whatever of his state that I don't really ever see coming to fruition unless he wants to buy sea land.
Yeah,
there is a certain kind of mentality that makes a good debater. Styx has it. I think Matt Christensen would be a really good debater if he actually educated himself on a topic. Ben Shapiro's fun to watch debate. Even as much as people don't like him, Milo Yiannopoulos, when he's actually debating someone, when he puts on his little intellect glasses, and actually I've seen him actually do debates, and I'm like, wow, when he's not in front of a giant crowd, he's actually in debate mode. He does a really good job.
No, he's a wicked smart guy. He's definitely brilliant. My one problem with Milo is he wants to ban anime, and I can't get behind that.
You know what? I'm actually with Milo on that.
With that, I'm going to bounce. So thanks, everybody.
Right.
Oh, come on.
We started
the important.
Good talking with you, brother.
Oh, coffee. Come on, I just got here.
Later.
God. Typical. Coffee dips out when we hit important subjects. I swear he doesn't want to take a firm stance with anime. I think that's his problem.
Well, I'm like most politicians when it comes to anime. Publicly, it is deceitful and degenerate, and we shouldn't watch it. Secretly, I have a huge porn stash of it. But
I don't know. I've tried to watch hentai, and I'm like, it's just too animated. I can't get into this.
No. You don't watch it too far. You watch more of the cheeky parodies and stuff like that. Was like House of Dead or something like that, and it's just like, let's face it.
If you want to get into anime, start off light. Go for something like Black Lagoon. It's a nice series, good storylines, animated, and then move into the deeper stuff as you go along.
I've seen Inuyasha about, I think, 3 times, like the entire series. Now, keep in mind, I said seen and not watched. Reason is I used to watch more Adult Swim, and I'd be on my computer and I'd be playing games or something, and I'd be a little too lazy to change the channel when the good stuff went off and anime came on. And it was like 2 hours straight of Inuyasha.
Adult Swim, corrupting America since 2000.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I've actually gotten less. Well, no, I'd say less since I stopped watching Adult Swim now that you mention
it. To go back to the actual discussion of the stream, I heard a lot of people saying that Spencer didn't answer the question of what white was, but he did. In his, at least what I took away from what he was saying, it is more of a metaphorical explanation of what white is. You know, he said it does come down to some genetics, and then it comes down to some attitudes and cultures, and it's basically a mix of things that make white. I mean, for anybody who says that you can't explain white, then you can't explain black. You know, there has to be at some point in time a line where we can say this is this and this is this. You know?
Yeah. Well, no, that's very true. But at the same time, I remember that part of the conversation. What is culturally a white person? But that's when I started to literally lose my fucking mind at that point, because it's like, right, culturally,
you live in California, you've already lost your mind.
Yeah, this is very true. But
that's the thing. Culture isn't racial.
Well, no. I was going to say, hypothetically, even if it is racial, at what point do you, culturally speaking, turn into a black person? Like, if I listen to,
if I'm a white guy at work, is definitely a black person.
Yeah, if I listen to enough like
they call it urban now.
Yes, if I listen to enough urban music, classical urban music, does my skin start to vibrate? Do I keel over in pain as my skin turns to a darker shade?
That's called a wigger. We had them back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, if I watch too much anime, right? Am I a Japanese person at this point? It's just like, that's a ridiculous argument, because that's the argument the social justice warriors make.
I thought Asians were classified as white now.
Oh, they are, because they don't fit in the they don't fit the oppression hierarchy.
Hang on, there's two different types of Asians. There's the Asians that are actually Asians, and then you have Asians who are Arabs.
Yes, that's true. We're talking East Asians.
I thought that was only for UK reporting purposes.
When someone gets blown up in the name of Islam, the person's Asian.
To get it back on topic, in my opinion, Richard Spencer is an SJW. I mean, that's the type of argument he's making with his collectivism. I mean, if you want to look at collectivist ideas, affirmative action is a collectivist idea. It's saying that all black people are stuck in a rut and they have to have money to get a leg up. They have to be picked over a white person for college. They have to be a certain amount of them in the workplace. It is a ridiculous notion. And it is racist in its implementation and in its ideals. I believe Richard Spencer is not alt-right. I think he is an SJW. Unless all the alt-right is a bunch of SJWs.
Pretty much.
You're speaking in terms of principle. Yes, they are the same. But I mean, they have very different end goals. They just have the same means of achieving those goals. So they're different in that respect.
Yeah, I don't know though. Some of their end goals are the same. Like segregation seems to be pretty common on both sides.
Yeah. Well, but it's the segregate. You're correct there. But two different groups come out on top when you're talking about the end goal. It's people of color coming out on top for social justice warriors, and then for someone like Spencer, it's white people.
I think it's and this was mentioned in the Morally Gray stream. Well, it's a friended. It was on the friended channel, but it did come up, and he's the guy at point. It's part of it's protectionism. That's the common thread. Whether it's feminism, got to protect the women's, or Black Lives Matter, got to protect my blacks, or the alt-right, got to protect my white.
Yeah,
it's this idea that you have to protect an entire group of people instead of letting those individual people deal with their own shit.
Yeah, okay, I got a question for you guys. All right, in terms of, I keep hearing that, somebody won and somebody lost, and what makes a good debater. And from my perspective, I've seen Richard Spencer say something, Sargon try to get to a detail of that something, and then Richard Spencer just repeat himself and say something.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm getting at? In other words, I don't think Richard Spencer went into that conversation with, I'm going to beat Sargon at something. He went in there and just stated how he thinks things should be, what he feels is right, and just kept repeating it, reiterating in different ways. And Sargon, I don't think he picked up on that. He kept trying to beat his head against the wall, getting an answer, a detailed answer, his principles. All right. What is white? Next step. Okay. We defined white. Now what do we do? Yeah. Lead through the details of your ethno-state superiority isms. And Richard Spencer didn't want any part of that. He just stayed on point and gave his message, which I would say like a politician.
Well, no, and JJ, I agree, man. But isn't that a defensive debate tactic to where you're going to be attacked immediately, no matter what, because he is. And he knows that. So he automatically goes into defense mode. He keeps on his ideas.
The debate tactic you use when being questioned by the police.
Sometimes it makes the other person look inept.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it works. Other times you get like a Marco Rubio, and you just default back on the script like 3-4 times. If someone calls you directly out on it, it just don't look good.
No, you got to be.
I don't
smart
care how
about
big
it.
your hands are.
No, you got to be smart about that tactic if that's how you choose to go. Because if Sargon would have caught on, then he could have tried to beat him at his own game, so to speak.
Well, he did catch on at a few points. The problem is that the reason I think people are getting into the subject of who won and who lost is I think this is primarily just the kind of de facto state of public opinion. There's always going to be a who won and a who lost, even though everyone always says at the end the purpose of debate is to, it's not to win, it's to change minds and have discussion, you know. But it's just like at the end there's always that one dude with like a straw poll saying who wins. But
well, the only way to be sure who won is to figure out how many people watched, and then how of those people, how many were on essentially the Sargon side who are now on the Richard Spencer side versus those who are who were on the Richard Spencer side who are now on the Sargon side or Styx side.
Yeah.
Right. And who and how many, or whether or not that changed at all. That'd be your only real metric, but I don't see an accurate way to do that.
Well, no, and I can't say I went in there with an open mind. I've heard of Richard Spencer. I've seen him talk. I think he's an idiot. And also I've watched Styx, and I'm a libertarian as well. So I came in there, Styx and Sargon's side, and Sargon let me down. I'm definitely with Styx on that debate, even though he didn't. If he was allowed to talk more, he would have really won. I can't say he won because he wasn't allowed to talk enough.
Yeah. It was,
but when he did good.
It definitely was a debate tactic, because here's the thing. If you ask somebody a question, they start to answer, and then all of a sudden you're going to challenge them on another point there, then they try to start answering that, and basically it kind of sounds like Sargon was going for like the gotcha moment. Aha, I've unraveled you there. But it's just, it just turned into just bickering.
Right, it didn't work.
Yeah, well, and yeah, he set a few of those traps, but he failed to capitalize on them. Those could have been very fruitful endeavors, because he did set up a lot of these gotcha questions. But the problem is that, you know, he devolved into essentially social justice tactics, and he lost his cool and he strayed from, you know, principles. And that's ultimately why I think he lost, is because Richard Spencer went in there with a completely different mindset. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
Oh, well, I know there's a little bit of crying in the background. My daughter actually has the temperature. My wife's running up to the store for some medicine. But
I think
the Piper report is in the chat. How you doing, Piper? Hope you're doing good tonight. He says, I found Sargon's performance highly embarrassing. That was synonymous with the type of arguments that SJWs make. It's strange when Richard Spencer appeared to be the sane one in that debate. I would say that Styx was the grown-up in that debate. That's the only way I would counter that. Other than that, you're right, sir.
Yeah, I would also like to point out that I think one of the major problems of that debate was Andy. I don't think Andy was a good moderator at all. He let them talk over each other too many times. As soon as they started to talk over each other, he should have muted them. You know, I think a better moderator could have moved the conversation along. Give Styx his time, give Richard his time, give Sargon his time, give JF his time. But unfortunately, it just turned into shouting much for long periods of time.
I don't necessarily agree on muting, but to guide and to interject a little bit more, and like you said, get Styx in there a little bit more. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, Andy, I mean, he's new to this and everything, so you got to cut the guy a little bit of a break. But it's just, as soon as you hit number one, even for just a couple of minutes there, it's like there are going to be eyes on you. So I hear you there, boys.
I think what would have been an interesting way to go about this whole situation, given who was involved, forget the moderators for a second. It would have been Sargon posing the question, because I think Sargon does that part really well. He poses really good questions when he's got a chance to prepare them, and then let Spencer expand on his ideas and then give Styx the ground to then rebut those ideas. I think that probably would have been the best way for everybody involved to participate.
I agree with you. That way, Sargon poses a question, or even if the question is presented by a third party. If Sargon answers and Spencer answers as they're talking to the third party, then each one of them has a chance to shine on their own merits. And it eliminates the back and forth crap.
Well, I think that would have given Sargon the chance to, because Sargon could then pose the questions that get him to the points he wants to hit. It would give Richard Spencer the chance to say whatever he wants to say, and then Styx, being the most adult and rational in the group, a chance to then very thoroughly, rebut and possibly debunk a lot of those arguments. And then that way, and then kind of keep, the moderators are just there to keep Sargon's questions on point and Spencer's answers appropriate to the question.
Yeah, that would have been cool to see if someone could have kept the answers in line with the questions.
Well, I mean, to be fair, at first it started out to be a debate, and then Andy came out and said, no, it's going to be more of a discussion. So it won't be timed. That's not what we do on, Warski Live, which it's not. He's never done that. I've never seen him do a debate, Oxford style. So, we knew what it was going to be, and we got what we knew we were going to get.
Yeah, I was really hoping for I think the best, this was kind of the problem I have when people do things with Richard Spencer. Roaming Millennial interviewed him, and I thought she did a fine job. She wasn't there to get gotcha. She was there to let him speak, and I thought she did a pretty good job. But when people got their chance to go after Spencer, a lot of them went after Roaming Millennial, which was weird. I'm like, well, if you don't like the guy's ideas, cut out the sections of ideas and do response videos. Some people did. But at first, all of them went after the person essentially doing the interview.
Is that like shooting the messenger?
Yeah, basically shoot the messenger.
Well, no, don't you think that's what they're doing still? That's kind of their tactic. They can't get Spencer. They've tried to get Spencer. They can't. Like, he's an unstoppable fucking radioactive troll.
Like, doing it live, yes, he's a troll. Don't debunk him live, because he'll keep twisting it around. He's basically the Ray Comfort of the alt-right.
Now, I think one of the points here is that the reason they can't get Spencer is because Spencer won't say sorry, won't feel guilty for his beliefs. That's the point. They have to go after other people who then have to go, no, I don't agree with him, but we still think we should listen to him. And they'll go after those people, but they can't go after Spencer because Spencer doesn't care.
Well, that's why you let him expound as much as he wants, and then you take a clip of that, not out of context. In context, you take as much context as you can, and you debunk it like you would any other, like a lot of these, ridiculous bedroom feminist videos. You can do that with Spencer. You don't have to do it live. You can do it that way. Show people, cite sources just like you would with anything else. If it's an argument you can't personally debunk, go to one you can. But don't half-ass it because you got to get views and you really feel that he's wrong. Debunk arguments you can, skip over ones you can't. That's how you do it. Eventually somebody's going to get around to the one you can't. Somebody smarter than you, somebody in a different area of expertise.
I agree with that.
And then if they do, and you look at their sources and you go, wow, this makes a lot of sense. The sources all seem correct, and they let you mirror it. But that's how you go at them. You can't go after somebody like Spencer with emotion, and you can go after him with mockery a little bit. I think Baron could do some good Richard Spencer mockery, but he couldn't do any good debunking necessarily.
I have a question for Voice, and we kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier, but do you think that Sargon was kind of quote unquote triggered by Richard Spencer? Or do you think he was just kind of trying to like beat Richard Spencer like a Mario coin box and just earn some points out of it?
I think the problem again with Sargon, even though I do like most of his content, is that he's got to the point now where he believes, and Richard made this point, he believes he is smarter than anyone he's debating. He came in, you could tell from the first 45 minutes, he was constantly attacking him. Sargon was attacking Spencer, and that was only to try, he didn't want to have a legitimate conversation. He wanted to come in and treat Spencer like a child. That's what I took away from it.
Well, the thing is that I do think that Sargon actually is smarter than Richard Spencer. And it's not because of my books or anything like that, or maybe it is due in part to that, but he does know how to ask the right questions. And Sargon was asking the right questions. The problem is that he was, I agree with you, Voice, though. He was completely blinded by his own ego. He's blinded by the fact that he doesn't want to associate, desperately does not want to associate with Richard Spencer in any way, shape, or form. But the problem is that he's not going to convince the people that already hate him to not hate him. And that's a futile game to win. And he should have stuck to his guns, my principles, and he should have just kept asking those questions and probing. He should not have gotten all bent out of shape about it.
Well, I think actually JF did a better at arguing Spencer's points than Spencer did. When you look at it, JF was actually coming back with rational answers and rational questions for Sargon. And again, I think Sargon and Spencer, the egos played a part in this more than, the actual arguments.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, I think and it was funny because the only time Sargon got a semi-straight answer out of those that are, quote unquote alt-right, it's when there's one instance where I think I think they were still talking about what is white, and finally JF chimed in and actually gave a pretty coherent definition. So, JF and Sargon, that would have been perfect. That would have been good, but fuck me. Like, getting two titanic personalities to clash like that, that's a terrible idea. It's like having a room full of cabbages. Fuck's sake. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, damn. After listening to all of that, I don't want to fucking go watch this debate now. Thanks, guys.
Oh, dude, no, it's so awesome. You have to watch it. It's hilarious.
I tell you one thing I would say about that. Does anybody else think Spencer's gay?
Totally.
Seriously, I've never seen a straight guy with that manicured hair and nails,
Right.
Yeah. I've never seen a straight person with, what do you call those? No, I was looking at the background. I was looking in his closet, right? I know this is weird. I was looking in his closet in the background, and he's got those like suit protectors. It's like, I have never actually seen someone have one of those in their closets. Maybe it's just because like I'm poor or something. I don't know.
What was it?
He had suit protectors, like you'll have like a 3-piece suit on a hanger and you'll zip it up in like a little plastic or like a little baggie or something like that. It's kind of what it is.
Oh, depending on where you go, like even up here, I went to like Joseph A. Bank, and like if you buy like a new suit, or maybe like I think I did the whole buy one suit, get 4 suits free or something like that. So, but basically you end up paying full price. So it ends up still being like a decent amount, but not overly expensive per suit. Yeah, they'll usually give those to you. He probably just bought some new suits.
Yeah. That's my thought.
With his Patreon money, he's trolled out of people.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the only time I've ever seen those. Like, I had a friend in high school, like his grandma died and left him like 60, or no, what was it? Oh, fuck, what did we call him? 40K? 10K? Oh, his grandma died and he got 10K, and he went to like some kind of super fancy suit place. I think it was Joseph A. Bank, but he spent like almost $1,000 on a fucking suit.
Yeah, that'll happen.
I don't know
why they do like buy one and get 4 free.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Maybe it's just the Jew in me. Hey, you go your way, I'll go Yahweh. But yeah, so back to the debate. So what can we take away? Is this something that we want more of? Do we want more structure to this? What do y'all think?
Oh, I
think the structure would be cool.
I think Sargon sounds like he needs to be mediating things instead of getting involved in the actual debate itself.
Yeah, maybe writing the questions even. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, and I mean, that was the problem I had, is that not necessarily a biased moderator, or no, I think that is the problem I have. I think I have a problem with the fact that JF should have been the one arguing rather than moderating, because personally speaking, I don't see it. I don't think it's the moderator's place to ask intuitive questions. The moderator is there to make sure that those questions get asked and people stay on topic. But I think that it was unfortunate that he was set on the sidelines and he wasn't the one asking Sargon questions and vice versa.
So you think JF should have been asking each of them the questions?
I think Andy should have been moderator and JF should have taken Spencer's place if you wanted to have Sargon or Styx in there. Because I think that that Spencer, it devolved essentially into Spencer and Sargon trolling each other to some extent, and it turned into just nonsense arguments, and JF was there to move things along with questions, but personally I don't see that as the moderator's task to actually do such a thing. That's just me personally, though.
How do they, when you watch a debate on TV, you got the guy at the podium ask the question. Of course,
yes.
It's more formal. They use a timer and all that BS.
No, I do understand, but my problem is that JF's questions were biased in favor of Spencer.
Yes, I kind of came off with the same feeling there.
Yeah, and it's not that I have a problem with bias, but I do have a problem with bias moderators. So I wish he wouldn't claim to be a moderator. If he was someone who is engaging in the conversation, I would love that, to be honest.
I do kind of feel, and again, I'm giving JF a more charitable interpretation. I believe at the time he was kind of trying to help frame something there, but the way it appeared to come off, and Sargon did point this out, he's like, wait, are you a moderator or are you jumping into this? And he even admitted, he's like, you know what, I will be a participant. See, what I actually kind of would have liked, and I do got to give a little credit to Base Mama on this. When she was kind of designing the whole Kilroy panels, which may or may not even happen, she's like, I want a person that has this perspective, the opposite perspective, and kind of like a more neutral party. I kind of feel JF would be a pretty good neutral party because he could argue either side.
Yeah, but he's all French and junk.
Yeah, but would you be in favor of, 10 questions? And each party gets a copy of those questions prior to
maybe a couple. I do think you kind of need like a couple of curveballs in there, but having a couple of at least topics, maybe not the exact question, but like maybe 3 points during the debate you're going to hit, and there will be some questions associated with each one of those, and then a couple of things out of the blue.
Okay, so if you asked Richard Spencer to define what is white and then how he would go about separating his definition of white from the others as the next step, would that be a fair question?
No.
Even answer it.
Oh, no. I do think so. And that question was getting asked, and it was the question that was asked that was never actually answered because nobody really gave him a chance. Well, that's the thing. Nobody really gave him a chance to like fully answer before somebody jumped in with another question.
Right.
Well, I mean, has he ever answered that question? I know he's been asked before.
Okay. Now, do you think he could even remotely give an outline on how he would take that step, the next step? Let's just presume, all right, we identified all the white people. Now, how do we separate everyone?
Centrifuge. Well, different races and different masses.
Centrifuge. Yes, I would be for that. Well, the problem is that Spencer's definition of white devolves into essentially what is culturally white. And the problem is that you're talking about a conversation in which you are trying to discuss what is white, genetically speaking, but yet somehow
I'd be fine with cultural racism.
Yeah, he's talking about culture. This is a conversation that doesn't.
I'm black, but culturally I'm white, so it's cool.
But the problem is,
real quick, I have a couple of seconds where my daughter's not whining. Another problem I have with him is identitarianism. He identifies as white. Well, what is white? Is it Irish? Is it this? Through my family heritage, my history. You know, I know who some of my ancestors were. I know the wars they fought in.
Mad Dog, if you keep talking shit about the Irish and comparing us to Richard Spencer, me and Voice are gonna smack you with our dicks.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Irish were not considered white in the 1800s, but now they are. So to Richard Spencer, are they white? I mean, that's a real question.
My ancestors were Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
But no, she's starting up again. But like, your identity really, it comes down to your family heritage, in my opinion, and where you grew up, your surroundings you lived in, or the area of the city you grew up in. You know what I mean? Well, it does.
Experiences.
so kind of like your own unique life experience.
Yeah, that would be your identity, not
that's the thing,
your
though.
whiteness.
If that's what you go off of as identity, and I agree that your identity is based entirely off of what you yourself have accomplished and done in this world. You can't have an identitarian movement based on that, because no two people have done all the same things.
Which is why identitarianism is flawed inherently.
They have to pick arbitrary shit.
Right.
So it's kind of like the whole intersectionality thing. Once you divide it up enough times, you're just going to get back down to the individual.
Well, if you believe Thomas Smith, it's about the individual.
Yeah.
Oh, Thomas Smith Aquinas or whatever? Yeah.
No, the fucking dude.
No, Thomas Smith.
Sargon, I'm going to say debated, but really, they kind of insulted at each other.
Oh, you mean the one on stage that
that guy. No,
Sargon made him look like a white supremacist. Shit.
I want to hear that guy and Richard Spencer yell memes at each other.
Oh God. Well, here's the thing. The guy, he went up on stage and he had his computer and everything, and then basically he expected Sargon to answer for his crimes of not apologizing, and then Sargon basically said, "I'm not sorry. I'm not apologizing."
Yeah, he
and
did
that took most. Exactly. Well, that took most of and that took most of the wind out of his sails. And to be fair, I mean, that is a debate tactic, and it's actually part of one of Lewinsky's rules for radicals.
Mm-hmm. Monica
never give an inch. Well, I do think she wrote a book.
Smack a knee.
It was actually Saul Lewinsky, and the thing that kind of bothers me is. And I still even remember it was on Fox News Hannity, and they're saying, "Oh, Obama's a follower of Saul Lewinsky and stuff like that." The rules for radicals, and I'm like, "Oh, come on, Sean." And now I'm like, well, a lot of folks on the left are kind of using some of these tactics.
Sargon has specifically advised people to read rules for radicals.
Well, exactly. And here's the thing: he's utilizing the rules for radicals.
Yeah. I'm so torn on some of the stuff Sargon has done. Like, people hate the fact that he reported Chrisiosity. Although, if I'm being fair, she did threaten ongoing harassment. It's different. It's one thing if you say something to somebody once and they go, "You're harassing me." It's another thing if they threaten ongoing harassment because they don't like you.
So actually, at that point, nobody. I actually do want to bring up just one quick tangent thing. Did anybody see Dave Rubin post the thing about like his just like quick 2-minute word, and then his interview with Ben Shapiro?
I watched the interview.
Monetized.
No, I didn't see that yet.
He used one of those new YouTube functions that kind of shows that random message, and he showed the pictures where they both have like 100-something thousand views, and they are not friendly for all advertisers or most advertisers, as it says there. And here's the thing: what it kind of seems like to me is you have a lot of folks of more of like the liberal persuasion. They see stuff that they don't like, so they tend to be the ones that are more apt to flag things. The only problem is what happens when it comes full circle, when all of a sudden CNN puts up something and maybe they have a dead body in there, and you have folks of more of the conservative persuasion that just start mass flagging that. Because I'm not necessarily convinced that it's fully an ideological thing on YouTube. I just think that a lot of folks on one side or the other may be more inclined to do that. So what happens when the other side says, "Fuck it, screw this, we're just going to start reporting as well"?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Spencer even admitted that he's perfectly fine with things like political violence. So I mean, at that point, you have two different dissenting parties that are affected by this. Now, let's say the left starts getting flagged by the right. Well, then there are going to be people on the left to say, right, okay, maybe flagging isn't such a good idea. and they're gonna change their standards just ever so slightly. But then there are other people who are just going to be like, right, it's all out war. Let's flag all the flags.
Yes, they're going to turn it into a blood feud.
Yeah. So I mean, there's two different ways. There are two different facets of approaching that, I think.
Yeah, and that would be. See, mine would be the latter. Okay, look, they want to make everything. They want to make everything flaggable. Fine, we'll use their rules to flag all their shit, and they'll see how dumb this is. That would be my thought behind it. But I understand that in reality, most people won't get that's what's going on, and they'll go, "They're flagging all our shit. Let's flag all their shit."
But do you think that's what it's going to evolve into, where basically you have any type of political talk just completely being demonetized because folks on opposing sides just literally start organizing mass flagging rallies?
Well, that's why you have to have broad rules that allow everybody to speak, as long as that's all it is speech.
I have to say, the one thing that surprises me about the Ben Shapiro and what do you call him? Rubin, that's it. Was them demonetizing that discussion homophobic or anti-Semitic? Because remember, you're talking about a gay guy and a Jew. And
well, it's both, because Dave Rubin's also Jewish.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, man.
Well, he's a cultural Jew. He's not a practicing Jew.
So going by the progressive stack, aren't they being like, I don't know, like...
Well, the Jews are basically
oppressed?
Narrative, so...
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, it according to the, I guess, the progressives, Jews are white.
Well, yeah, a lot of SJWs are super anti-Semitic.
Okay.
Well, no, but where does
they just hate us because they ain't us?
Well, this is a real question. Where does free speech cross into incitement to violence? So
when
if
it becomes a threat.
Well, that's what I think.
You're directly calling for violence.
Yes, that would be
my
thought.
action, and then the action comes about. But if you're talking about having a white ethno state or a black ethno state or a Mexican's not a race, so it would be a Hispanic ethno state.
Latino, you motherfucker. Latino is the word you're looking for.
Okay.
Well, okay,
it's Latinx.
Wouldn't that be an incitement to violence because you want to forcibly remove some segments of the society from their homes, from their property? I believe in property rights. I believe in the individual. So
I think you would have to call out.
No. Saying I think Mad Dog should be taken out of his house is not a call to action. Saying go take Mad Dog out of his house is a call to action.
That's a call to action.
Right.
Okay. But you have to actually have the force behind it. I can't say let's go run Tom Cruise out of his house because right now, and then nobody's going to go. Is that really a
needs
threat?
To be a credible threat of violence.
Yes, you got to say
That's
on
right.
Thursday at 9:00, everybody meet me on the corner of Duke City and Knuckle Junction, and we're going to go get this, do this thing.
Exactly, and the only problem that you run into there is what is considered credible, and I think at that point you devolve into what we had on previous Red Eyes was what is the definition of unreasonable.
Can we all just agree that swatting is the best way to take care of people you don't like?
No, we cannot agree to that. Absolutely not.
That's too soon. No, I have to say though, on the ethno state question, we already have them. I mean, you look at somewhere like
Iceland.
Ireland.
No,
I said Iceland, not Ireland.
Well, we have it here, but when you look
there's
at
like one or two black people in Ireland.
Yeah, but everywhere I go,
are you talking about the Black Irish?
No, but if you look at somewhere like Detroit, all the blacks are one place. California, all the blacks in one place. All the Mexicans in one place. Whites over here. You already have it because people do trend to their own. Same over in the UK. You have big Indian populations staying together. So we already have, to some extent, the ethno states. So it's just a larger example that Spencer is one.
Well, that's the thing. People who choose to live together is
it's
one
not
thing.
really an ethno state.
Forbidding other people from living where you live is another thing. That's where I have an issue.
Yeah.
Nobody. We were on the same page. I was like on it too.
Oh, sorry.
We talked over each other too. So go ahead, because we're on the same page.
All I was gonna say is it's kind of like, okay, do you guys remember the Evergreen thing?
Yeah.
All right. So what Brett Weinstein said is, he said, it's one thing, and I support it if you say, I want to remove myself from this area for a day to prove a point. It's an entirely different thing if you say, you must leave this area for the day.
Because I want to prove a point.
Yeah. If you say, if you choose to do something or to leave a place, that's your business. If you choose to make other people do it, now you have a problem.
It's choosing to restrict one's speech rather than compelled speech.
If Richard Spencer and people like him want to purchase a bunch of land and create their own little white ethno state on land they have purchased and owned, they are more than welcome to do it.
Yeah.
But when other people want to go there, I don't know why people would want to go there if they're not white, and because they're not going to get treated well. But if they then want to move there, they weren't already there, they want to move there, there might be some issues legality wise with not letting people in. But they're more than welcome to buy land. They can purchase a whole subdivision and make their own little white neighborhood.
Well, the thing is that yes, these states like the Midwest, I did a video on this a while ago, so I'm kind of intimately familiar with it. But they want to essentially section off the entire Midwest from essentially let me see if Nevada to the East Coast, and from
that's a pretty big chunk.
What's that? Yeah, North Dakota all the way down to I wish I should have brought up a map or
South Dakota,
something like that, to like Tennessee or something like that. So you're talking about a vast swath of land. Now the problem is there's an exception. Not everyone there is white. It's a majority white, yes, but there's got to be at least one black person somewhere in that landscape. So the problem is that what happens when that one black person doesn't want to leave? What if you can't pay them to leave? You're going to forcefully remove them. Well, at that point,
where you run into issues.
Yeah, well, not even just local issues, not even just moral issues. You're talking international issues.
Yeah.
At that point, and I thought Styx brought this up, and I'm very disappointed that he didn't press the issue, because I would have pressed that like it was a fucking nuclear button.
Yes, me too.
You come to the point where you become an international pariah, much like North Korea. And it's just like, right, no one is going to
interact with Kim Jong-un because he doesn't like Trump.
That is a good point. But you become an international pariah. No one's going to want to trade with you, and you're going to end up with a despotic economy, much like North Korea. You will not have a
Castro was a wonderful man.
Castro did nothing wrong. Yes.
I'm sorry. Fucking people choose the assholes people choose to support because they don't like the guy they also don't like is fucking weird to me. Oh man. That's the thing. That's what you have to say is, how do you plan on enforcing this? The minute they say, well, violence, all right, well, I don't want to be where you want to be.
No one wants to be. I mean, it's a general rule that, you treat your neighbors or you treat your fellow citizenry how you want to be treated.
Now, if they said we would bribe them to leave, we would pay them, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money for your land, way more than it's worth. We want you out. All right. But if they said, no, I love it here, go, okay. Eventually this person's going to die of old age. We'll get it then. Like, if that's what they said, I'd be like,
there's inheritance laws.
Right,
there's inheritance laws. No, there's inheritance laws, and their son will be just as stubborn as their father.
Yeah,
especially
what if he says, fuck it, I want some money, bye. Peace out.
Okay, that land came from 200 years ago.
It doesn't. It wouldn't necessarily have to resort to violence to get.
No, it depends on how fast you want to do it and how much money you're willing.
Well, no, and once again, Kaiser is awesome. He's the guy that made the new banner for Mad Dog Productions and specifically the RedEye stream. He says, doesn't local governments and states already forcibly remove residents for gentrification? No, they don't. What they do is it's called eminent domain, and they do it for roads and railroad tracks and stuff like that. Gentrification.
And occasionally a shopping mall.
Gentrification is when you influx money and stuff into an area and try and change it. So you take Compton and you try to build a mall there, and you try to change it into a suburb. That's what they call gentrification.
And basically, the area gets too expensive for old residents to stay in.
Right. Yeah, and you don't need to actually forcibly remove anybody like that. You're saying that one black person. I mean, fires happen all the time.
Wow.
Well, I was actually...
It's a lowercase t. We were trying to say thanks for sticking around.
Well, I was thinking about it for a second, and to be quite honest, I actually don't think they would have a problem with that person living there. Because I mean, if it's this one black family surrounded by a bunch of white people, they're eventually going to be bred to the point, genetically speaking, they're going to be bred to the point where they will become white. So I don't think that would be a problem. I think
just put a sign outside their property right off of it, like a zoo or a museum exhibit.
That's so fucked up. You guys? God damn.
One black family in Wyoming or wherever the fuck.
No, it's not mean. The only black person in town.
Yeah, make the sign in the shape of a cross, put lights on it,
Damn it. God damn it. I am going to lose subscribers. I'll probably gain a few ones that I never wanted, but thanks a lot, guys.
I don't think there's any way in hell that an ethno-state could ever take place. And I wouldn't want one either, but just the optics and the general public's eye and zero control of the institution of education. Mm-hmm. How could you, I mean, that's a really long-term goal to try to get in control of that and somehow slowly persuade the public that it's not immoral.
So are we specifically talking in the United States of America, which is basically what Richard Spencer was kind of always referring to?
Yes. Because the only reason we're talking about the ethno-state on the RedEye stream is because of that debate. That is why we are discussing this. So any of the haters, after they watch this later and they pick me apart after I hit 1,000 someday, we're discussing this because Richard Spencer's discussing it, and ideas should be discussed. And this is a free speech platform. Like it or not, I'm a libertarian. Get over it.
I think it would be interesting for the government to pick a large empty section of land. There are some empty sections out there, right? Mm-hmm. Split them up like large sections. Give one of them to the white ethno-status and say, here, see if your shit works right here. All right, this is your land. Nobody lives on it. You can move here. You can develop it. We're not going to help you at all, other than to say, here you go. Right next to that, give the SJWs their little plot of land and say, have your communist utopia right.
You can give all them their. You can give them all their land. Have you looked at the map of the Western United States? The federal controlled land that is sitting there doing nothing. You have homeless people in the streets of every major city in the U.S. I don't care if it's Wisconsin right now, minus 10 degrees. There are homeless people dying.
So give the right wing SJWs their plot. Give the left wing SJWs their plot.
Open up homesteading.
Right next to each other, and say, "Go for it." No assistance.
Oh my God, you are asking for like a mini Civil War.
I'm fine with that. We can film it and it'll be a new show. I'll watch.
I didn't think you were going to go that way with it, but hey, I'm for that.
It's all part of Mad Dodge's actual master plan. He's like, God damn it, we're going to do it right this time.
Oh, and we can also.
This is part of his campaign for president.
Hey, Mad Dodge 2020. You love free speech and you love the RedEye. Vote for me. The RedEye in the White House. Could you imagine that?
You might want to wait till like.
You better be careful, Mad Dodge, because you might become the next Adam White is Right Warski.
Fucking race, man. That dude's always starting shit.
Poor Chris. Chris is gonna get dragged into this shit.
I wish this two would do more BuzzFed sketches. I love the BuzzFed shit they did.
So why wasn't Chris Warski a moderator on this shit? Should have had him in there.
Adam Warski killed him.
Dude, he actually hasn't been around for a while.
Adam, your name is Chris. Drink my piss, Warski.
Where are you coming up with this shit?
Mr. Medicare destroyed Adam Worski the other day.
To be fair, though, he's Andy Worski, and he did it all with Adam Worski. So
exactly.
Andy has plausible deniability.
The amount of memes using old Hitler photography and stuff like that, where his face has been photoshopped in, is
they were amazing. Fuck off. They were amazing.
They were great.
Between the Nazi memes and him going to like bomb Wizards of the Coast and stuff like that, I mean, I'm waiting for him to get like the FBI phone call.
I like Magic, but I think I hate the Magic community.
Oh god, that shit is great.
I
was
really,
gold, man.
No, I want to get it to a point where Mr. Adam Raceworski essentially usurps Sam Hyde. And
this murder was committed by Adam Raceworski.
Yeah.
His name's Adam Worski. He goes by Race.
Yeah. We'll just shop Worski's face over Sam Hyde's, and we'll just use the same picture.
Fuck, it's gonna be great. I mean, it's gonna require a tragedy first, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, dude, it's gonna be great.
Has anybody came up with Race After Storm yet?
Oh, God.
No one's come up with it.
I did post a shaved ogre in his whatever that shit is. It's after, what is it called? The that chat thing.
Oh, the Discord, yeah.
The Discord, yeah.
But no, that would have been interesting just to have Common Sense Guy get his PC. But I love how the fact it went from originally $500 single donation to £500 single donation to literally it went to, if we can get $300 of this stream, I'm doing it.
I watched the weirdest. Sorry, it's a off topic. The weirdest responseception video the other day. Fox from the West. He popped into the friended stream, so I checked out some of his stuff, and I watched his response to V's response to Dr. Lehman's response to somebody else's fucking video.
Holy shit! Are you playing
Paul Joseph Watson video?
You're playing fucking telephone?
And I was like, what the fuck is this?
I think it was a partial troll between all of them. I actually like Fox from the West stuff. He's pretty middle of the road.
Yeah, I was in the video. I was just like, this is like 4 layers deep at this point.
Dude, 4.2 degrees of separation separates everybody in the world. So technically we've come full circle yet again.
Oh, man.
One of us needs to make a response to Fox. Someone do it, please.
Somebody needs to make a response to some Mad's RedEye streams.
Oh, fuck you.
Cut the clips way out of context.
Oh, God. I'll be fucked, dude.
Just clip out any time anybody said the word nigger, just like that right there.
Yeah.
No, just use other words like niggardly, or I have a niggling suspicion somebody's gonna
So 2 quick points in this. Number 1, has anyone ever watched The Life and Times of Tim?
No.
HBO show. Okay, well, never mind. We'll throw that out the window. Number 2.
It requires some money, sir.
Hey, or your friend's HBO Go account, but that's another point.
I used to have one of those.
So Mad Dodge, do you want to be destroyed? Because if we want to do that, all we needed to clip is like the first 5 minutes of RedEye when it's just him and MC in here.
We just need the first 5 minutes of any fucking RedEye. Let's be honest.
Hey, man, if I send you the lyrics to a song, will you read them out loud?
I think it was a song on American History X.
No,
it's a short song. It's only 14 words. I promise.
No, it's a real song, but I need you to agree before I send you the lyrics, and you have to be a man of your word.
To be fair, Adam Worski already did that in a super chat.
You're trying to make me retread Worski's path? Do I have to start making Franny videos too?
Oh, God.
Well, why does it matter?
Well, hashtag free Stuffy. Poor Stuffy. Can you Shives tortures that poor guy. He needs to be freed. Just saying.
There's a hole somewhere in there that's very crusty around Stuffy.
I think that was my comment in your video. If he showed the rear end of any of those stuffed animals.
Was it Stuffy or Crusty?
Well, I think his name is Stuffy. All right, but poor guy.
Stuffy's getting stuffed. Oh my.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is going
there
dark.
You go. I linked the lyrics for you in chat there, Matt. Damn it, he's gone again.
Oh, that's a good song, Nobody.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I love this song. What are you kidding? I would have sung this. Come on.
So at this point we have devolved into pedo inanimate bestiality.
Whoa.
Well, it started with Spencer. I mean, how low can we go?
I don't know. Let's see.
Oh gosh, that reminds me. I want to plug something super quick, even though it's kind of too late to do plugs.
Make it Warski.
I'm redoing an old video about Islam, and yes, bestiality and necrophilia are included, so it'll be fun. It'll be good times for all.
Ooh, do you have an interview with Whitney, Wisconsin?
I was gonna rub zombie.
No. Yeah, no, there's some pretty fucked up shit. There's a lot of fucked up shit that goes on in the Middle East that a lot of people don't know about. And basically gonna make a video about that shittery.
Well, to be fair, if you are from either the US or the UK and you go to work at Dubai, they will automatically pay you 200% of the normal going salary for that job.
Oh my gosh, you serious?
It's racism or reverse racism or racism light or whatever.
Reverse racism doesn't.
How is there a racism light, man?
That's
Explain that one to me.
I don't know, man. There's so many labels now. Okay. You're light, right, alt. As far as I'm concerned, I'm part of the control alt right.
I have a question for
malt liquor.
Oh god.
Hey, I happen to be drinking malt liquor right now, sir.
Uh-oh.
Thank you very much.
So I got.
Would you classify yourself as a peckerwood?
No.
Okay. You're good then.
Yeah, no, and any other thoughts on the stream, or should we branch out in a couple more things? We've hit around 3 hours, so we can go for a little bit longer. But
only 3 hours? Oh gosh.
Yeah, I know, right?
We have to beat the ultimate race debate time.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Let me see. Is there anything else about the stream? Because I mean, there's so much to it that I'm honestly having a hard time.
Probably should.
To be fair, I really wish Robin Williams was still with us, just because some of his thoughts on different things would be amazing. I remember when he was talking about, was it Tiger Woods? And he's like, a black man and a Thai woman. Not even a German geneticist could have come up with that one.
Oh, anybody see the new Dave Chappelle special?
Oh, no, not yet.
So this is something I want to bring up real quick. He's kind of restoring my faith in comedy a little bit. Politically and socially, I don't agree with a lot of what Dave Chappelle thinks, right? I disagree with him vehemently on a lot of subjects, but motherfucker makes me laugh. And he's quitting because people are too sensitive. It makes me sad.
Yeah, I hate it so much.
But you know, the point is, like, you don't have to agree with somebody to find them funny, and this is something that the far left tends to, and I don't know, maybe the far right too, tends to forget. Like, I don't have to agree with that motherfucker. I just think he's hilarious. He tells me the things I disagree with in a way that's funny.
Well, that's the thing. He's doing it from a lighthearted perspective, but that doesn't seem to be really malice his heart, because he's making a joke, and you realize he's making a joke. And the sheer fact that folks like Jerry Seinfeld won't go on like any comedy tours on campuses, John Cleese is basically like, yeah, I'm pretty much done. I'm not going to do anything anymore because otherwise I'm going to get charged with a hate crime. Dude, we're killing comedy, man.
Oh no, it's even worse. Did you hear about the thing where what was it? John Hodgman, you know, of Daily Show fame.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was a good idea to tell Dave Chappelle he can't make ethnic jokes.
How'd that go?
God, get fucked.
Dave Chappelle came out with a Comedy Central where he makes a whole bunch of ethnic jokes. So not well. And then Paul F. Tompkins, who I liked up until I heard this, tried to tell Mel Brooks how to be funny.
Oh God.
I like Paul F. Tompkins, but Mel Brooks funny.
So I have to ask, I know Dave Chappelle's skits, there are 2 on Netflix, and I'm sorry, I have a couple questions. Did he release a third?
No, he's got 4. Well, no, he released another double. So he's got 4 on Netflix now.
And so after those, so he's done 4, but now you said he's quitting, correct? Because people are being bitchy.
You said in both specials he's done. This is his last thing. He's quitting comedy again.
Oh God!
And he said at first he made a joke about it because he's too good, but then he said no, it's because people are just looking for reasons to be offended. He said it in a funny way, but basically that's what he's saying. He's like, people ostensibly he agrees with politically are fucking lying about him. Like, he made a joke. One of his jokes on there is about how he voted for Hillary, but he really didn't want to. Like, he's like, I voted the way I think everybody should have, but man, she is just unlikable, that bitch, right? And he said, I made that joke at a club, and the next thing you know, there's articles saying Dave Chappelle, vehement Trump supporter.
Oh, see, that's why we need him, though. Like, he dispels all that stupid bullshit, and I know it's painful for him. But fuck, man, I love the guy. I wish he would keep doing shit.
But he's so need to be harassed by other comedians who aren't funny.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. What you do is you take all that hate. What you do is you literally get a projector in whatever club or comedy arena you're at. You put the article right up there, and then you just take the fucking piss out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually have a question about this. If somebody more educated on the matter can elaborate for me. Is one of these people, one of these other comedians calling out Dave Chappelle, vagina, Amy Schumer, vagina, Amy Schumer?
Probably.
No, she knows her lane. She keeps her fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, I guess she did learn her lesson after about 6 or 7 fucking times.
Now, if only Sarah Silverman would learn her lesson. I thought it was fucking hilarious when Sarah Silverman tried to talk about how she went to this club and she wasn't getting paid as much as the men, and the fucking club owner fucking debunked the shit out of that.
So he's like, well, sorry, honey, you don't seem to be as funny as...
No, he said you made as much as... Basically, she was the new comedian. She made new comedian money. She didn't get paid as much as the experienced older comedians.
Well, that makes sense, I guess. Well, actually, speaking of comedy, who finds it interesting that the sheer fact that after 24 hours after a CNN anchor is basically, or reporter, is basically taking a hit via a gas mask in Colorado, Jeff Sessions ends up leaking that we are now going to federally remove this Obama-era institution, saying, or executive order saying that, well, we're going to enforce federal regulation or something like that on pot.
Well, I've been answering a lot, so somebody else want to take a crack at this?
Oh, go ahead, man.
Okay, so my thought on it is this. I think weed should be legal, but I think it sets a bad precedent to have federal laws that you are not willing to enforce. So I think it's good they're going to enforce federal laws. I think it's kind of shitty that they're doing it regarding weed. I think they need to legalize weed.
Well, this brings up another interesting question. Is this going to be Trump's reason to fire Jeff Sessions? Just going from a 5D chess perspective, because Trump during the campaign said, he's like, I'm for medical marijuana, and then other than that, it's a states' rights issue. He even said today, I do support Jeff Sessions. And we all know what's happened to the past few folks. They says, I support these people.
Well, I hope he fires his ass. Fire him.
I mean, Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General. It's not his job to write law. It's his job to enforce law.
But
go ahead.
So I think this is a Congress issue.
Oh, it is.
No, this is a states' rights issue. This is the right. The states
that's
have the
what
right
I mean,
to sell recreational
needs to roll that back.
Could it just be an optics? Could it just be an optics issue? So they're conservative, base.
No, Jeff Sessions fucking hates weed. That's like slightly
well,
better
he
than
didn't hate the KKK until he found out they smoked pot.
Well, I think it's an optics issue due to the fact that Trump is promising to roll back regulation, but it's going to make him look like shit if he just creates regulation controlling a substance.
But what if he plays both sides? What if he literally had Jeff Sessions come out there? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You're going right where I was.
No.
Continue it. No, that's what I was getting at with the optics.
Well, basically, it's the whole Trump marketing 5D chess 101 is basically play both sides. So what do? You have a subordinate basically start to follow what he believes in he should do. Because otherwise, you think Jeff Sessions isn't going to do this without some of President Trump's blessing. He's just going to say, oh, do what you got to do, Jeff. So basically, Jeff Sessions goes out there. All of a sudden, a lot of the more conservative folks that maybe don't believe in that are going to say, President Trump is sanctioning this. And the majority of the country at this point saying, what the fuck are you doing, man? Come on. We don't have any problem with this. And then at some point, he either pushes Jeff Sessions to resign or fires him. And then all the other folks are going to say, oh, good going, Trump. You brought this. And even the folks that don't like Trump will say, well, maybe this wasn't the worst idea.
Well, no, what I want to know is what exactly is Jeff Sessions going to do? Okay, so first off, the 10th Amendment. Drugs are not listed in the Constitution at all. So all rights to regulate drugs go to either the state or the people, respectively.
Well,
that is just the way. That is the way the government was set up. Now, the argument people want to make is the president signed into law the Scheduling Act. Okay, fine. But what are you really going to do on a practical level to the people like MC, to the people like Jeff Sessions? Are you going to go door to door in Oregon? Because guess what? Not everybody is growing weed, but everybody is allowed 3 plants. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go door to door? Because you are breaking our 4th Amendment at that point. What exactly are you talking about here? And if you can't go to door to door and you can't shut down every business, fine. Let the states do what they want.
Okay. Hold on. So there was a lot in that. So you might have to fill me in if I miss something, but right. They're not going to go door to door, no. Because going door to door, how do I word this in a kindly fashion? Going door to door is not going to score ICE, or sorry, not ICE. It's not going to score like the FBI or anything. DEA. It's not going to score them, or DA. Sorry, thank you so much. Mm-hmm. It's not going to score the DEA any more federal funding. It's not efficient.
I'm sure President Trump would be more than happy to spend millions of dollars to enforce this.
Well, that depends on the court of public opinion, I would personally think.
Let's ask Adam. Smoke pot, get shot, Worski. Sorry, I'm never going to be done with that. It's just too much fun.
No, it's okay. But I mean, the DEA they're going to not spend their time chasing down the little people that, 1 or 2 plants. They're going to spend their time going after bigger targets. Like drug smugglers and like major businesses that want to legalize and sell this stuff, because that's where
well, 40, you bring up a very interesting point, because I even remember under the Obama administration, yes, they may have kind of followed that particular regulation, but there was a point in there where the feds did actually end up raiding one particular dispensary. I guess the extenuating circumstances were this individual was putting up a kind of certain rap or music videos where he was basically promoting his business in pot as well as brandishing fire. Basically, he was kind of going like
the gangster
life or something like that. Like the way he was portraying it was like, yeah, weed's cool and go shoot people. So like there was like a theory behind it. So it kind of sounds like you're saying maybe that's what they're gonna do, or
So you have to understand the DEA it's not a business officially, but it is a business of sorts. They have employees to pay. They want to make money. These people want to make money and
find their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the DEA wants drugs to exist. That way they have a job. But that's why they're going to spend their time fighting cartels and business owners, because that's where the money is. There's no money to be made breaking down the doors of independent pot growers.
Okay, all right. 40, we'll go with that, all right? So they raid the dispensaries. That's who they target. So Oregon is passing a bill to make it legal to act, because right now the dispensaries can't even deposit their money at the end of the day. They have safes with large amounts of cash. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Oregon is passing a bill through the legislature because the state is pro marijuana. Their coffers have grown. You don't even know, man. Like they have money to spend now. They're good to go.
So let's go ahead.
Yeah. So Oregon's trying to pass this bill. So are they going to come into the dispensaries, not only seize their money in their bank accounts, but take their database on their computer, which has, I only go to one, but it has my name, my address, everything in it. Are they then going to go to my house? Which
no. Only if Mike Pence becomes president.
I don't know. I don't know. After the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, Pence became the smartest man in America.
Yeah, dude, I know.
Oh, you're the worst person in the world. It's like, no, he's the safest person in the world.
Yeah. No,
well, here's the thing that I see. I'm sorry to cut you off, 40, but but basically, here's the thing. This is putting it back in the public eye because at this point, it hasn't been an issue. It's becoming an issue. It's kind of like DACA. It's like, okay, I am repealing this order, and we're giving Congress so many months. And President Trump even says, like, I will happily sign something if you're willing to make a deal with me. I believe the deal was on border security funding, as well as putting forth something reasonable to him.
Yeah, that means, you know why it's an issue? Because California's recreational came into effect. Wow, what's the date? 6 days ago.
Yeah.
That's why it's an issue. Yep. It wasn't an issue when Oregon did last year. That didn't matter. It wasn't an issue for Washington or Colorado. But it's California.
Well, you do have a good point. So Trump actually does score some conservative virtue points there. And the fact it was 24 hours after a CNN participant was basically hidden the gas mask also links in with some synchronicity.
Well, so this is one of the problems I have with Obama. Obama put these fucking landmines in there. All the shit he did with basically governmental overreach. He just like fucking dear colleague letter. This fucking bullshit. The DACA stuff. He just slid that shit in there and then said, yeah, the next guy, if he unrolls it, he's going to look like the asshole, even though I am.
Yeah,
and fucking Trump didn't give a fuck. Like, fuck it. Gone.
I don't like what he did with my insurance.
Yeah.
It's going up 235%. What I pay in insurance for my wife is some people's income.
And so the issue,
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say the issue with this, coming out with this now is there are people like in Colorado who have built businesses on something they thought was legal.
Yes.
And it's not their fault. It's Obama's fault that they might get all their shit taken away now.
Yeah, Obama's a dick.
You know, it's not Trump's fault. The law was never repealed. Obama shouldn't have given people false hope. You know, the DACA was never going to stick because it wasn't passed properly. He shouldn't have given people false hope. The hope part of his hope and change slogan was fucking fake. And he fucked with people's lives.
You know, unfortunately, those people aren't going to see him as a villain.
No, they're not.
Right.
Yes, McGibbs. He's so generous. He's such a humanitarian.
Well, apparently all we need for reparations is cool hats. That's what I learned from that ARC story earlier.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it.
Your ancestors from their homes, bro. Here's a cool hat. Thank you. That's all I wanted.
I don't know. I've got some pretty cool reparations from playing ARC myself.
I think the most racist thing I've ever said, by the way, because we're still alive, is the people who are descended from slaves are descended from losers, because because the people who got sold into slavery were sold by tribes who defeated them in wars. They were basically prisoners of war. They're like, well, we could kill them or we could get money from them. I go with money.
No, and it's true. It's so true. But by that definition, everyone is a loser.
No, but kinda, yeah. Are you saying they weren't kings or kangs?
Nope, no kangs.
Look, everybody was a loser because look at what that kind of shit did to Africa in our modern day.
And to be fair, America was a nation founded by losers who couldn't make it in their home country. the U.S. You know, they won against the natives, so they felt like winners.
Wait,
but then they said,
so
"Man,
the
there's not enough
winner.
of us. Let's go get some more losers."
Wait, no. So the master race is the Arabs and Muhammad, right? They've only won pretty much.
No, they've lost the Crusades a couple of times.
No,
the Arabs have gotten their asses handed. The Arabs have gotten their asses handed them not only by the Christians but by the Mongols multiple times.
So there is no master race, 40. Confirmed on the RedEye tonight. The RedEye number 69. There is no master race.
Nor should they.
You can only do slightly better than your predecessors, and even then, there's still no winning.
Well, no, there you go. There's a soundbite for everybody that's going to call me a racist in the future over this stream. There's your soundbite. There is no master race, you bunch of idiots.
Fucking retards.
That's the moral of Tower of Babel story, bringing it back around.
Go ahead.
Let's say you can get as high as you want. Eventually, you're going to be a loser too.
Well, I thought we were the human race, so we either have the ability to bring ourselves to the heavens and just as quickly tear ourselves down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm my own worst enemy.
Well, no, and I think that's a great way to end the RedEye on a story, a stream about Richard Spencer.
Adam, touch my wife, eat my Dvorsky. Sorry.
Yeah, Richard, try to fucking talk your circles around this one, you dick.
Yeah, there is no master racer. Get over it and go back home. Thank you. This has been the RedEye stream. I hope I don't lose too many subscribers. Watch the whole stream.
Jared Diamond did nothing wrong.
Good night and good luck.